Here we go. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to I've Known You Too Long. This is a special episode. I know I say they're all special episodes, but this one is special. It's different because it's my first road episode. I've actually traveled to do this one. I'm not in the normal spot in the closet with all the junk that you can see in the photos. I've come to Portland to interview a friend. It's going to sound a little different. The room tone here is different, and there's some noises we can't get rid of probably. But you know what? It's going to work out. I think it's going to sound good. The person who I am interviewing today is someone I've known for a good long time. He has been in a ton of bands. He was a founding member of HIMSA. He was an early member of Harkonnen, and he sang on the record that I put out on Excursion. He did the Genuine project where he would play all the music and he'd do a lot of the vocals, and he'd have some of us come in and do vocals. I put out a Genuine record also on Excursion, and tons of other. I'm not even going to try to list them off right now. We'll get to all that. My guest today is Aaron Edge. Hello, Aaron.
Hello. Hi.
Aaron, I'm not going to say how you doing because we've been talking about how you're doing. And we're going to take a quick little break from how we normally start this podcast. And I'm going to give everybody a bit of an update and allow Aaron to give a little bit of an update about what's going on with him. Aaron was recently in a pretty horrible bike accident. And as I look at him now, he is sitting in a wheelchair in a back brace because he broke his back. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What happened to you?
The first vacation I took of the year, I went down to California to ride bikes. And the first day was wonderful on road bikes. The second day, I was on a mountain bike, having a blast in a redwood forest, and somehow I fell off. I have no idea what happened. Woke up with no breath and knew that there was a bunch of pain in my back. And a couple people that I was riding with held me down and decided, you need to stay where you're at. You're hurt pretty bad, or you could be. I waited for an ambulance of sorts to arrive on a trail, real bumpy. They took me to a helipad.
Okay, I don't know.
To a helipad.
I think you said it right, helipad.
And
helipad.
A helicopter took me to a local San Jose hospital where I was tested, prodded by so many people, like 8. It was incredible. I was given tons of morphine once they realized that I was in a lot of pain. And after a CAT scan and a couple different x-rays, it was determined that I had fractured my T6 vertebrae, which is somewhere in the middle of your back, just below your shoulder blades, or my shoulder blades, or everyone's shoulder blades. And then I was given more morphine. They put me in a small room by myself for a couple hours, and the doctor came in and told me the news about the vertebrae break. And it seemed like he had too many other things on his mind, so he was really curt and short with me, and it was a problem.
Now, while he was telling you this, were you able to move?
No, I was still strapped down to a board.
But could you wiggle your toes? I mean, did you know that you weren't paralyzed?
Yes, and that was wonderful. Because I have MS, and the MS is most painful in my hands and sometimes feet.
Oh yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah. So
that's 2.
At first it was tough to tell whether the worst pain at the time, because I was stressed out, and stress makes MS nerve pain worse. I couldn't tell in the hospital whether that was related to a possible new nerve damage in my spine or not. And they weren't sure either until a couple hours went by. My stress reduced and I could, move my toes and fingers just fine. The doctor came in, told me the news super fast, told me, hey, you'll be in a brace for 3 to 6 months, and someone will come in and put the brace on you. Okay, bye. And left. I was in a room the size of a closet, and the bed was so precariously placed in there that everything connected to my body was crossing over my face and my neck. Miserable. So uncomfortable. Still on the board. Finally, I buzzed for the nurse to come in. A head nurse came in. She was wonderful for the rest of the couple hours I was there. She replugged everything in, cursing, what other medical bot had done this to me, and explained exactly which vertebrae, what was going on, and that there was still a chance for paralysis if the fractured vertebrae was crushed further, or if it was being crushed further as we spoke. And so there still is that chance. So I needed to take care of myself for a while until we could see how the fracture healed.
Right, that's the ultimate take it easy.
Correct, which if anyone listening knows me, I have never been a take it easy guy.
Right.
All or nothing, all the time. Hate that, love this. No,
yep,
nothing in between. So taking it easy is very difficult.
Some forced perspective for you, my friend.
Yeah, it's lame. So at this point, I see my doctor, my current Portland doctor, on Friday. He's my neurologist. And because this is nerve related.
Wait, how do you get back?
How did I get back from California?
Yeah.
I was slated to take a plane the next day back, but I couldn't. So I got a hotel room for an extra night, provided actually by a friend that I met there who is sort of running this workshop. His name is Seth, and he's a wonderful person.
Workshop that you went down for?
Correct. Okay. To test bikes. Yep.
Right.
He was wonderful. He brought me to my hotel room, and he got me a extra night in the hotel, which is fantastic. In fact, he also made sure that I had a wheelchair. I won't say how. Yes, I will. He stole it. He stole the wheelchair from the hospital, put me and it in a van, and brought me back to my hotel. The following night...
So they were going to let you walk with the brace?
No walking.
So how were you supposed to get anywhere?
I was supposed to just get up for very short 4 feet increments. Okay. Like, get to the restroom, get to the shower, have someone take off my brace and my clothes. I get into the shower.
Well, you did have the brace at the time.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Right. Yeah. Right off the bat, they put the brace on me at the hospital as soon as they knew what was going on. Then I get back to the hotel. I'm in the brace with the wheelchair, and this person, Seth, it's worth noting, this person, Seth, also the next day brought his daughter, who was like waist high, tiny, 8 or something, maybe younger, probably younger, made pad thai for me at home and brought it to my hotel.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So the first real, like, really nice thing that had happened since I've been there. Catch a plane back. They have to load me on the plane.
That's what I wanted to know. How do you fly back with that injury?
So I get wheeled out to the plane that's on the tarmac. It's a smaller plane, a prop plane. It's come only from San Jose back to Portland.
Right. Anytime you get to say tarmac too, it's kind of awesome.
I like the word tarmac. So I'm out on the tarmac, and they make everybody wait. Everybody else has to wait in line outside. Granted, it's beautiful out, San Jose, so no one's complaining. And they put up a special ramp up to the door of the plane, this 2-prop plane. They put me in a different chair altogether that is sort of on this conveyor belt sort of deal. It's very, very narrow, and I get brought all the way up, and then once there, it has wheels, this little device. They wheel me to my spot, and I just slide over to my spot. Then they bring that thing out, they remove the ramp, and everybody else comes on board. Probably all the while saying, why is that guy here first? How did he even get here?
They probably are pretty happy that they're not in your position.
Everyone is, except people who are in a worse position.
Right.
They want to be in my position.
Yes. There's a hierarchy of suck.
There's a hierarchy of terrible. So my stolen wheelchair gets put in with the baggage. It has a big ER spray painted on the back, or however they did it. I had to put a backpack over it to just thwart any...
Ooh, and that's stolen property across state lines, isn't it?
Yeah, and I haven't stolen anything since I was like 14. A lacrosse ball. So,
right.
I get on the plane. It's a bumpy ride. It's terrible. Sucks. It hurts the whole way. I'm on pain meds at that point, but still, it's like the pain, is bad. I get off the plane the same way. Everybody gets off first, which is nice. And I get into a wheelchair, and I get pushed all the way to my baggage, pick it up, and a friend picks me up, and I'm back to my home.
Okay, that's and here you sit now. I'm gonna note, as long as I've known you, you've been straight edge. You still are straight edge.
Indeed.
Your last name is Edge.
Indeed.
And you weren't born with the last name Edge. You legally changed your name to Edge.
Indeed, I did.
That's how straight edge you are. And if anybody doesn't know who this guy is that I'm talking to, if you've seen my movie, The Edge of QUARREL, we've talked about this on the podcast a lot. It's available in the store. People have seen it before. There's a guy on the cover with X's on his hands. You can't see his face, but you can see all his tattoos. That's Aaron Edge. That's the guy I'm talking to right now. So I'm looking at a bottle of medication that you have that is partly responsible for making your voice the way it is, and it's going to be a little quiet. People may need to turn this one up to hear, Aaron.
It's smoothing me out.
It's smoothing you out, but that's what did you say that was? Hydrocodone?
Hydrocodone is the current pain med.
Right. So this is I mean, any amount of high or medicated would be the most high I've ever seen you, but this is way beyond actually what I expected.
Yeah, this is more high than when you have a cold and you might take NyQuil or something. Like this is.
But when I walked in and saw your face, I knew that you were both medicated and in extreme pain.
Both.
It's chiseled on your face. Like, so there's no, yeah, this isn't some like nya making fun of you, haha, you're accidentally not straight edge. It's that's the medicine you need right now, and I get it. Yep.
And in the morning and late at night when I have been off the meds for a while, I wince and tear up when I get up in the morning. It's like I want to call the ER again. If I didn't know what was wrong with me, I would call them.
Right.
The pain is that incredible. And so then I take pills and just sit up for about a half hour till they take effect. And then I can get into the wheelchair and go about my busy day of sitting and not doing much, which is
thinking,
terrible.
Gaining perspective.
Just getting fat. That's what's happening.
You getting fat. You're not fat at all.
I will be. You watch.
Okay, cool. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
That just means you'll just have new goals. You just have to run off the fat. You'll love it.
I'll just stop eating. It's cool.
Okay, whatever.
Coffee
way,
and drugs.
Whatever you
want.
That's not straight edge.
That's not straight edge.
In fact,
true.
If you take one pill past the time frame that you have been prescribed for, you're not straight edge.
No, it's true.
Yeah,
that's true. I'll be careful.
So that's getting everybody up to speed, but that's not how we normally start the show. So now I'm going to start the show the way we start the show.
Okay.
Aaron, I've known you too long.
You have known me a long time.
Yes.
In fact, I'm pretty sure I remember if it's time to say so.
It's going to be. As Lex corrected me pretty hardcore on this, but and other people have as well. But obviously I haven't known you too long. But I've known you so long that I can't remember the exact day that we met.
I'm pretty sure I can.
Okay, I have a vague memory. I'd like to hear if this sharpens it for me.
So, the day that Princess Di died in the crash, I believe it was September 1st of 1997. We can Google it and figure it out.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure I moved from Philadelphia to Seattle that day. Now, Lex Spar and her mother were nice enough to put me up in their home in Kirkland until I got in Kirkland, Washington.
How did they know you?
I knew Lex from when she had toured with bands and come through Philadelphia.
Yep.
We had met.
Okay.
I can't recall the year that was. I'm guessing that was probably 94-ish, perhaps.
Okay. She would know. I think she actually talks a little bit about it in her episode.
Yeah, I met her, and we stayed in touch at that point with a couple letters here and there. And then we sort of, as I recall, there was enough time between letters that when I called her, we were both surprised to talk to each other. I said, hey, Philadelphia's not doing it for me anymore. And all my friends, including like Dan Yeeman and Dave Wagonshoots and everybody I knew from Philadelphia who had toured around and gone through Seattle, Washington, were like, this is the place to be. My bands at that point, up to 96 and 7, had never toured the whole United States. The East Coast a million times and the Midwest, but never the West Coast. Though I grew up in California as a child.
We'll get to that.
Oh, I was trying to wait for the siren.
Oh, there is a siren.
There's a siren. So
this is actually going to happen. This is going to be our background noise. So we'll just, if I cut too much of that, it's going to sound
I live
jumpy.
in the city.
You live in the city. We're on the road, man.
Yeah.
This is a road episode.
And aren't you sponsored by Red Bull and Monster or something like that?
I am sponsored
MTV?
by Black Crown. If you're in Seattle and you need a ride, call Black Crown. Actually, you don't call them. You use the app. You download the app from their website.
Sidebar, when Soto needed a logo for his company, I did his logo.
Fantastic.
And that rules that he's still, as I recall, as much as I know, he's still using that logo, which is really cool, like a version of it. But either way, people should use the app and use the company because it's fantastic. If I lived in Seattle, that is how I would get around, and I did when I lived there.
All right.
I haven't had a car. In fact, I haven't had a driver's license since 2002, I believe. It expired, and then I was just like,
and that was just it?
Yeah, fuck it. Oh, well, are we allowed to curse?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, fuck yeah.
To get back to Lex.
People said Seattle's the place to be. Your band's heading toward here.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually, so when Lifetime was sort of coming to a close, or perhaps already did, there was a new band forming. And this is important to Seattle reference. There was a new band forming with Yeeman and Wagon Shoots and a bass player that I can't recall his name. He wasn't a guy I knew very well in Philadelphia. And they were looking for a singer. And I instantly wanted to be the singer. And Dave and I had some talks, and he said, I just don't think you're the guy. Your voice is too harsh. And I said, well, what's this band going to be like? And he's like, why don't you come to practice? Come hang out with us. And I did. I remember sitting in this room watching two of my favorite musicians and this other guy who was great play this new music. And it was like 7 songs in 7 minutes. And it was fantastic. It was as poppy as I like a band to be, and not more. And I don't like poppy bands. Okay, except for Jawbreaker. So they're playing, and my mind is blown, and I'm still like, please let me try out for this band. And they were like, no. A week later, John Pettibone comes out to try out for the band. And he did, and he didn't get picked for it. They're all bros, but he wasn't the voice for it either. He goes back home, and while he was in town, he was telling me how awesome Seattle is and the West Coast in general. So it affirmed that or confirmed that I was gonna go. That band ended up being Kid Dynamite, of course, and they got a perfect singer for the band.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he ruled it. And though his voice is so NoFX-y, whiny, kind of, it worked for that style of music. Anyway, I don't usually go for that type of thing, but that band shredded, and I was so stoked.
Definitely would have been the exception for you.
Definitely the exception for me. So,
and I know you would have like hit the voice lessons or something. You would have done some kind of vocal transformation. Nope. You don't think so, huh?
No, I couldn't have done what that guy does. There's absolutely.
Oh no, it wouldn't sound just like him, but there would have been some. You would have made. I think you would have tried to fit the music.
Totally, and I would have had a blast doing it, but I would have ruined it. Like they did it right.
But you connected with Pettibone there.
I connected with Pettibone there, and I also decided and sort of woke up one day not wanting to be part of the Hare Krishna movement, which I had been a part of for 9.5 years.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in the past.
Yeah. Okay. So
I never knew you as a Krishna.
Right.
I knew you as a very recent ex-Krishna.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had decided that I didn't ever hate Krishna culture, but that I didn't believe in God. I woke up one day and was like, I just don't believe. And I think I'd always wanted to. And so, and when I did, I got a little preachy, and that was kind of lame. And, but then as I got older, I decided I love the culture, but it's not for me. Plus, being vegan doesn't really tie in so much with the Hare Krishna movement because of them using milk and ghee and cheese and stuff, and that wasn't my bag of tricks. Anyway, I moved to Kirkland. I get off the plane. Lex and I are stoked to see each other, and her mom is fantastic. I'd never met her. She's probably to this day still one of the most warm, big-hearted people ever. Both of them are. But to get back to the day that I believe I met you, that was September 1st. There was a Halloween show in Seattle where everyone, and I mean like just about everyone, dressed up. Trial played all as women.
And Left With Nothing played as AC/DC.
Yes, they fucking did.
And Neil was there as a Hershey Kiss.
Yes, he was. And
I met you at that show.
That was the first show that I went to in Seattle. I was dressed as a fat guy. I had...
Merce was there as a murder Santa.
Yes. Yes. And that show, it was small enough, the room, that everybody
came home from
would,
that
like,
show and raved to Michael Ann about it.
Yeah.
Like, this was, you should have seen. Everyone was that's the most all out for Halloween my friends have ever done.
Ever.
Like, there have been some good ones, but that was unreal.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
That was fantastic. That's where I met everybody.
We met at that show?
We met at that show.
Lex introduced us.
She did. And Lex introduced me. The first person Lex introduced me in September of that year, 97, was Greg Bennick on the dock of, I'm trying to remember the waterfront. At any rate, after getting food somewhere, Lex said, oh, some folks are hanging out down by the water and we'll go hang out. And I remember there was this long dock and she introduced me to Greg. And
Kirkland or in Seattle?
In Seattle.
Okay.
And I remember being at the edge of the water, not on the dock, but the edge of the water, and just like dangling our feet, hanging out. And then she said, oh, you need to meet my friend Greg. He sings in that band that band Trial. And everyone knew that this show was going to happen. And I was like, oh, great. I'm excited to hear your band. I'd actually never heard of Trial on my coast. And I don't believe that they had actually toured out on these coasts yet in 97. I could be wrong, but I don't think they had. I was introduced to Greg, and probably Lex remembers it as me kind of like pushing Lex out of the way into the water, onto the grass to get to Greg and really like get to know him, because we instantly clicked. And I apologize to Lex if basically as soon as I met Greg, all my attention was on Greg. We really bonded. Then later there was issues with his band Trial. I actually tried out as their drummer first. And this was right away. Like, Motor was not going to be able to tour, or he was considering maybe leaving at the time.
Right, Motor being the drummer at the time.
And Michael. So, not so secretly. It wasn't so much a secret that I was going to try out because Motor was thinking of leaving, but I tried out as Trial's drummer, like right away after Halloween show. Tim and Greg and I hung out a lot, and I just met some of the other guys. At the time, I can't even remember who was playing bass.
Derek, wasn't it?
Was he? He always was, huh?
Derek Harn?
Yeah. And Spicoli was playing second guitar. So I tried out as their drummer, and though I can play fast, I can't play fast even, ever. Could I play fast for a whole set? Right. Particularly a longer set, not just like 1 minute songs. If it was all in fest stuff, it would have worked out. But Trial had changes and they played a little longer, so keeping a faster pace was difficult. So we were all pretty bummed that it didn't work out because we all liked each other and from the start. And so instead of being their drummer, I worked myself in to be their permanent roadie, which is why I have a Trial tattoo, because we totally got along and had the most fun for a little while, for a year or two or so. You're taking a picture of my Trial tattoo.
Yep, I got a photo of it because, we put pictures up in the blog page on nobodiesknows.com for these. Yep. And so some of the times people can see stuff that we're talking about. Other embarrassing pictures that I've collected of everyone over the years.
That's a problem.
No, it's awesome.
Okay. So that was the show I first met you. Halloween.
Okay, that's good. No, and now that you say it, I remember that being one of those influential nights, and it has stuck in my memory.
And I remember Lex Barr's house. I remember her kitchen more than any other part of the house, because in September I got a call from Gavin from Bern to tell me that, hey, Rabies died.
Oh.
And I was pretty bummed out. I'd gone to see that band a lot of times.
Warzone.
Yes. Yeah. And the reason I knew Gavin was because he helped produce one of the Christ records, a band that I was in Philadelphia.
Right.
But anyway, that is how I knew Gavin. And so when he called me, like I felt privileged to hear from him that something serious like that had happened. And that was one of the first hardcore legends that I remember dying and having an effect on me.
Right, because you had an actual personal connection to him. You'd been there where he was.
I'd been there where he was, and I had watched him perform, and I had met him. Yeah. And though we weren't friends, And, he wasn't even a peer, of course. He was on a totally different level.
Sure. Hey, it's Dave. I'm breaking in. I just want to take a quick second here to say, if you've been listening to this, you have just heard the story of what happened to Aaron, how he got injured. And basically, you can probably hear in his voice, if you've known Aaron, I'm sure you can hear in his voice, he's in a lot of pain. He's been through a lot, and he's got a lot more to go through. Some people at his work have set up a GoFundMe account, which is where you can donate to someone. The URL is very long, but if you go to gofundme.com, GoFundme.com, and search Aaron Edge's Recovery Fund, you'll find it. Or if you follow me on Facebook, I linked it the other day. Go there if you feel like sending Aaron some money to help him out. I mean, he's got insurance that's going to cover some of this, but they don't know yet what the costs are going to be for the airlifting situation he was in. And the guy's going to be sitting around in a wheelchair in his house for 2 or 3 months. Every single thing you do in a day that you just take for granted is hard for him right now, and he can't work. And that costs money. It costs money to just sit around and not do anything. So people are raising a little bit of money to help him out during that time, coming to the aid of a friend when they need it. So that's one way you can help him out. And if you feel like doing that, that's awesome. I am putting together a special edition of The Edge of QUARREL, the movie that I made that Aaron is on the cover of. That's him. Those are his tattoos with the X's on his hands on the cover of The Edge of QUARREL. Well, I have some DVDs left, and when I was down there, I took a photo of Aaron, tried to get him as close to the same clothing as he had originally for that photo like 15, 16 years ago. We took a photo of him in his brace, and we've made a new cover. It's the limited edition crippled copy. Made 43 copies of it. There's going to be 43 numbered copies of The Edge of QUARREL with this new cover. It's exact in every way other than the cover to the old Edge of QUARREL DVD. The difference is I'm giving all the money that I make on these DVDs to Aaron. We made 43 copies. I'm selling them for $25 a piece plus shipping. When those go out, when those are sold, they won't be any more. In fact, if you're listening to this much after it's initially released, they may not even be available. Check the site, check nobodyknows.com. They'll be in the store. They'll be on the blog page for Aaron's episode, but most likely they're gone already. So if I sell these, I can give Aaron $1,000 towards his recovery. And so that's what I'm doing. That's my contribution to it. And if that sounds like a fun way for you to help Aaron out, then by all means, jump in, get a copy. It's it's funny. And that's my best way of dealing with situations like this is humor. And if you think that's in bad taste and you shouldn't make fun of stuff like this and it's just bad to use the word cripple and, that I'm pressuring my friend to go along with this because he's in a sad state and he needs the money. Well, I understand. I think that you should just go right to his GoFundMe account and donate some money to him because he has to put up with having friends like me, and that's awful. So one way or another, whether you get on board with my thing or whether you just get on board with his thing, help Aaron out. All right, let's get back to the episode. That is it then. That's when you come to Seattle. We meet at that show. That's perfect. I wish I could say, I think at the time, you get introduced to a lot of people at shows. Lex has introduced me to a lot of people over the years, but it would have been shortly after that I was like, oh yeah, I know you. Like, yeah, you're here and we're doing stuff. So it was, you just became ever present.
And right away got into Harkonnen. So then I was meeting everybody in bands and I was at the Velvet Elvis all the time. And so we were all at the same shows, performing together, watching each other's bands, buying each other's records. You were putting out records that I was part of. Mm-hmm. And
okay, we're gonna go back first.
Okay.
All right. You mentioned Krishna. You mentioned Philadelphia. You mentioned being a little kid in California. I want to go all the way back. Who are you and where did you come from?
So I was born on July 9th of 1973 in Jacksonville, Florida, to a young married couple, Navy family. My mother was a flight attendant and my dad was a fighter pilot in the Navy. Soon after Florida, he got moved to Texas for a year or two, and then we all did, and then we went to California, Lemoore, California specifically, because it was right outside of Miramar, where Top Gun is, where my dad taught, which is pretty cool.
Oh, he was the instructor in Top Gun.
One of them. So when the movie came out, we're watching in the theater, and he's like, that's not right. That didn't happen.
Oh, it's like a cop watching a cop.
Yeah, movie. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
Pretty rad.
That might be enough to undo the "that's not right" part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, pretty awesome. And clearly as a child, watching a movie that my dad was in was like, or not that he was in, but he was associated with, was huge.
Now, Michael Ann, if she's listening to this episode, is screaming right now that I'm supposed to mention that I didn't even see Top Gun until I was in my mid-30s.
Oh, I thought she was going to mention how much she liked the man in uniform.
No.
And made you wear uniforms.
What? You made me wear uniforms?
Because she likes uniforms.
Oh, that she makes me wear uniforms. Got it. I thought you said I made you wear uniforms. And now I was trying to remember if there was some weird thing where you made me wear a uniform.
There might have been.
I can't put much past you.
So
don't laugh too much. It hurts.
Yeah, can't laugh too much.
California.
So California, we lived in, we camped all the time. We were in the redwoods all the time. That's like my playground. I grew up in traveling around in my folks' VW bus. I remember it very clearly. It was blue, and it had the little fridge and the stove in there. And we would go camping as a family all the time, and just had the best time. My father was on tour a lot, so I didn't see him very much. And when he came home, it was the start of our butting heads. So my mom raised my sister and I. My sister is 3 years older than me. And my sister never did anything wrong. And I did. I was bad. And when my dad would come home, I wouldn't respect him. And I would say, in my mind,
how old are you at this point?
So I lived in California till 6th grade.
Till 6th grade.
Correct.
Now, tell me what it was like being you as a little kid in grade school.
I skateboarded. I rode BMX bikes. My friends and I were into...
Okay, you skateboarded in the late 70s.
Very late.
Because if you're in grade school, it's the very late 70s, but that's banana board time.
That's banana board time.
So when you say you skateboarded, you skateboarded in the same way that I can say I skateboarded at the same time. It's not like mid-80s awesome Tony Hawk board skateboarding.
Not quite.
Not yet.
No, This is banana boards, knee pads.
Because the transition to real skateboarding is actually a big thing. So it's if you're one of the strange people who actually made the jump from banana board to skateboard, that's interesting to me.
Right. The only trick I did was hand plants. That's the only trick I could do.
Hand plants on a banana board?
Well, yeah, you'd get up close to the curb and you'd hand plant with the banana board.
It's impressive.
That's all we knew. That's all we had.
I didn't. Nobody I knew how to do that.
Otherwise, we were just carving.
Yeah. Or
on the wide streets. Yeah. Big soft wheels. It was so good. And I never did roller skates. I'm pretty sure I lacked the coordination for that. But skateboarding, you fall down a lot, but it's still awesome.
Sure, and BMX biking.
And the BMX bikes, because my friends and I would ride bikes, shoot BBs at each other in the woods. And
from the bikes?
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting into where I want to be. But
so it was gummo.
What I need to know.
It was gummo, but no cats were harmed, and sleep wasn't a band
yet.
The
movie Gummo by Harmony Korine.
Yeah. It was.
I'm sure everyone's seen it.
But we weren't white trash. We were all sort of like wealthier kids in a nice California suburb.
Okay. I want to know what kind of bike.
I had a Haro.
You got a real BMX bike?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I had a Redline. I had a Diamondback.
So when you went and saw E.T. in the theater,
and Star
you were
Wars.
Like, well, he's got a cool Haro, but my bike's like basically as good.
I didn't know what was better and what was worse then. I really didn't. It was I was like, all bikes were cool.
Like I just had a Huffy. Like I could not. There was no way I was getting a real bike.
Yeah.
So it was like I was jealous of any kid that had a Redline or a Diamondback or anything.
I'll be honest. I was my parents have always been generous with not so much what's in and what's cool, but like making sure that my sister and I had adequate sporting equipment.
Well, and there is a difference. You need the good gear.
It was more, I think my parents realized the value of a nicer thing. And so I didn't have the only crappy thing I ever had, which definitely wasn't crappy at the time to me because I was a child, was I had a Nash board,
and that's awful.
With Gorilla rails.
Awful.
But it worked. And it was like the first fat board I had, and it worked,
awesome. But your second board wasn't a Nash.
No, it wasn't.
And here's the thing. You're lucky that you're one of the people that actually was able to move from Nash to a real skateboard. Because the Nash should have killed you.
Yeah.
It should have been done.
But
skateboarding sucks.
But I've always also been the kid who was behind the really, really good stuff and the times. And I was late to everything, including being an adult.
Sure.
I've always been one step behind everybody. So
That's not so bad.
I always learn from my friends.
You see the mistakes they make too. You're late to the party, but you maybe don't go into the ones that are going to get busted.
Yeah.
You said that you guys would ride these BMX bikes around the woods and shoot BB guns at each other.
Yep.
Daisy, Red Ryder, one cock or pump up, and could be pellet or BB.
I had friends with pellet guns. I had a BB gun.
You had the click click.
Yep.
Punk
rifles.
So really, unless you hit the eye, you're not doing any real damage.
We wore goggles. We knew correct. We knew to wear goggles, or else moms wouldn't let us leave the house with a BB gun.
Was there a rule? 3 pumps in the good guns?
I don't think there was rules. I think it was just kill everyone.
You're lucky.
Yeah, I made it.
Yeah. Did
anyone, I made it this far.
Anybody go to the hospital?
Oh, all the time. In fact, I remember. So we did BB guns and BMX bikes, and then David Allen moved next to me. His family was Thai, and I would go over there and watch horror movies because they would show horror movies. They all would watch them, and stuff I wasn't allowed to watch. Mm-hmm. Really gnarly, bad horror movies. Bad as in like no child should see what is happening.
What's one you can remember?
Cannibal Holocaust. I watched.
Oh, I never saw Cannibal Holocaust back then.
Before I was 6th grade, if you can imagine. So Cannibal Holocaust is real shit. It's terrible. They cut the flippers off of a tortoise on film. It's brutal. It's terrible. There's rape scenes. There's like.
You should not have seen that.
No, I mean I shouldn't have seen that now.
Okay, can you ease up just a little bit? Was there any like just Freddy and Jason type horror film that you saw?
No,
Did you at least see Sleepaway Camp or something? Because that can fuck a person up.
So my mom and I and my sister, mostly my mom and I, would watch Creature Feature.
Yeah,
and that was every Friday or Saturday night, possibly both. I can't recall. We would watch horror movies all the time. My mom and I, we really loved them, but we didn't watch any of the really gnarly ones because really they didn't exist or they were so culty. We didn't know about them.
Right.
But David Allen, he knew about them.
Okay.
And so I would go over there. I remember sitting on their couch watching them eat what I would consider not good food. Like some of the Thai food got pretty like eating some of the bones of some fish, stuff like that. Like I remember watching.
You mean they ate such exotic food that it seemed like they were eating fish bones to you?
Exactly. I was a child, so like I was a little freaked out. So I would eat at home. Mm-hmm. I would go over to the Allen's house and I would party. I would like watch these movies, and David Allen introduced me to ninjutsu, like for real.
He took ninjutsu training?
He did. No shit.
How old was he?
He was in high school.
Oh, how old were you?
I wasn't. I was before
junior high, 6th grade?
Yeah.
Hanging out with a high school kid, watching Cannibal Holocaust and learning ninjutsu.
His friends were all studying or playing other sports.
Yeah.
So we were all the kids that would follow him around.
Sure. No, it makes sense.
It was the Rat Pack. And he would teach us like moves and stuff. So we all got into ninjutsu, and there was magazines. And you'd buy the magazines.
Yeah.
And then you would order things from the magazines.
I used to circle the stuff that I wanted in like karate or ninja.
But we would buy them.
You got the claws on the gloves and the axe.
We had ninja stars and we throw them at each other.
Oh no! I did get a ninja star and I carried it in my back pocket in case I needed to use it.
Because you never know.
I did practice throwing it at a fence.
I love your story, but we got really deep and dark. So what we would do is, what we would buy from the fish supply store was this tubing that was pretty straight until it got really long, and then it was sort of malleable. And you would cut a Q-tip in half and put a needle in each part of the Q-tip, thus making a blowgun. And we would shoot each other anywhere on the body with these blowguns, and we all got really fucked up. It was bad.
My older brother shot me with more than one homemade blowgun as a child, so I feel your pain.
Shit hurts. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
But what we also bought from the ninjutsu magazines, and they were probably called like, Modern Ninja or something.
Every once in a while, I'd have Chuck Norris on the cover.
Nope, he wasn't a ninja.
They wouldn't just have him like as a guest?
Nah, no? He was karate, and as I recall, he was karate and whatever. I can't remember what's the throwing around. Judo. Karate and judo. Chuck Norris was karate, boxing, and judo. He was not a ninja. So Chuck Norris.
So those disciplines, like those magazines, they had no use for him. No. There was no like...
Well, and okay, so to be fair, every ninja on the cover was in a ninja suit. So,
okay.
Chuck Norris, you could have been there. And I apologize now.
We don't need to apologize to Chuck Norris.
He doesn't care, too.
No, he probably owes some apologies himself.
He doesn't care. So, all my friends bought black ninja suits from these magazines, and when it came time for me to talk to my parents about buying one, my mom, because my dad wasn't around as a kid really, she said, why don't you just let me make you one? And the first thought was no, and the second thought was, of course, because my mom was a seamstress as well. And I mean, she bought the patterns from the store and would make her own clothes and our own clothes sometimes.
Right.
And she was really good at it. And I mean really good at it. So my first thought no ended quickly because I knew she could do it right.
Yeah.
I also knew that she could do something maybe extra.
Like hidden pockets.
Right. So I was all about it. My mom worked on the suit, and I didn't want to see it till it was done. And still to this day, I'm kind of that guy that I don't want to talk about it till it's done. I don't want to hear about the movie until I see it. I don't want to hear how great this band is until I go see him or hear it. I didn't want to check in on the ninja suit till it was finished. And I waited patiently for the ninja suit while my other friends were ordering theirs. Finally, my mom brought in the suit, and it appeared to be maybe like the outside of it or a part of it, or perhaps turned out inside out. I saw white material. I thought, why would this happen? Did she make a cape? Ninjas don't wear capes. And she was like, maybe like taking her own spin on it.
Yeah.
Once unfolded, sadly, the whole suit was white.
She made you a white ninja suit.
Because ninjas need to hide in snow. In California. In the suburbs.
But you didn't realize that she made you Storm Shadow.
I did know about G.I. Joe. So she made me...
There may not have been a Storm Shadow.
Maybe not at that time. But what happened was then I got my fucking ass whooped every night.
So you still wore it?
Of course.
And then you're there. So you're the good guy ninja, and they got to come kill you.
You know what? I'll say it now. I was the badass. I was willing to wear a suit that everybody could see me, and I couldn't hide except by garage doors. And I got my ass kicked. But what I remember one time, and my best friend Jason Martinez lived across the street, and Jason Martinez was hiding in a tree, but his leg was dangling, and David Allen came by with an actual sword and broke his leg. Actually happened.
Of course
and
it did.
Jason Martinez won't ever know to look me up because I changed my name. But if you're out there, Jason, I'm so sorry, and I hope you healed well. I think you did.
Now you're feeling his pain.
It's all coming back. Hurts.
So you survived a lot of stuff when you were a kid.
Lots. Okay, so
you know a little something about courage.
But I know something about revenge.
From the 6th grade?
My father's father and mother lived in Virginia. We would go see them once a year. We'd travel to see them, and it was a really cool time because they had a farm with horses and stuff. It was pretty rad. My grandfather bought me a pony, so when I would go there, my pony was there. I can't remember what my pony's name was. Perhaps Storm Shadow. And one time he visited, and he was seeing that I was getting beat up all the time. Not only at school, I got beat up by Jason Martinez and William Pickett Vance. One of Christ's songs was about them beating me up. I got beat up at school, and I also got beat up by my dear friends because we were into ninja stuff. My grandfather visited one time and was like, we need to sort this out for you. And he said, have you ever owned a rubber band gun? I was like, yeah, I've made tons. He's like, I'm going to make you a real good one. And I've told the story a few times to friends, and I'll try and keep it short, but it's good. My grandfather went out into the garage. We had power tools, and he cut a piece of wood that was probably 3 feet long, about, plywood. So it was probably maybe an inch thick, maybe less, and about a foot tall. So it was basically a beam. And he put a big notch at one end, and he affixed a gigantic clamp on the other. And when he was done, he handed it to me. He said, here's your rubber band gun. And I was like, oh, what? What rubber bands? Do we have to tie a bunch together? what is the actual device that shoots? And he said, well, do you have any spare inner tubes from your bikes? I said, of course. Like, there's a ton. There's like, I never throw them out. It's just garbage. He cut them into strips and he made gigantic rubber bands out of them. And he would pull them in the notch and he would stretch them into the clamp. And he said, let's go shoot your friends. And to watch my friends get shot with this was amazing because the rubber band goes a little slower because it's big, but no one had time to react because they were so scared and in awe. And it would snap my friends in the neck and leave gigantic red welts. Totally worth it. And that is exactly what happened in history. There were swords, and then there were guns, and guns ripped the world to pieces.
That's a good point. And you learned that originally with rubber band guns.
My grandfather.
Now, were you the one firing the gun, or was your grandfather shooting the kids?
He shot the kids at first because he got a big kick out of it.
Because that's where the story gets a little weird. You're just an excuse at that point.
Truly. So then when I got to shoot kids, he would just leave. It wasn't fun anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And he had this really crazy laugh with his teeth clenched. He smoked a pipe, and he had this laugh. You knew,
like a high pitched squealing laugh.
No, it was kind of I don't want to emulate it because it's ridiculous, but he just had a laugh about him that he did when he was really stoked, and it only came from two kinds of stoke: one, hurting people, and two, pantsing my sister and I.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Should we go? Does this story get weirder?
Nope, that's it. We were kids. He pantsed us. That happens, and then people laugh.
Perfectly normal.
So California.
That was in Virginia, though.
That was in California. No, that was my friends in California still.
You brought that. You bring the rubber band gun back from Virginia to California.
No. On one of his visits, he built it in my father's garage.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He came out from
which Virginia. Is how I got revenge on all my friends.
Got it.
Yeah. So we left California and moved to DC, and I lived in DC and Virginia Beach, and then Richmond, Virginia.
What years?
That would have been I don't know, whatever 6th grade is until college-ish.
So you lived
I remember
vaguely in the same area as Matt Matsuoka. You could have actually gone to some of the same shows he went to.
We may have gone to some of the same shows. Though
Kids for Cash, you ever see him?
Maybe, because
I just think I love that idea of a strange crossover there. But hold on.
Yeah.
We're not talking about shows yet.
Yeah.
But that's part of the question. Was music playing a part in your life in California?
That is a good place to start in California, because in California, I just listened to the radio and played with Legos and that kind of thing. My first vinyl as a kid was The Hobbit on a 12-inch, as well as there was a G.I. Joe record where G.I. Joe has to fight a mummy.
Okay.
And maybe somebody will look that up or know it already.
Okay.
I do remember it though, like listening to it all the time. And then there was a sound effects record for like Halloween sounds.
Right.
And I remember a girl getting eaten by a giant crab on the beach, and it was so terrifying to me.
Yeah, that's awful.
On vinyl. Yeah, and it made this noise, this crickety noise. Nightmares, the stuff of nightmares. And then the other one.
You've used a lot of crab and lobster claw imagery in the art that you've done. And perhaps now I understand why. Yeah,
because crabs are scary, man. Particularly when
they eat
gigantic.
Girls on the Beach.
Or when they're gigantic. There was one other record I was trying to remember that I listened to all the time. Anyway, clearly they were mostly.
This is not the music.
No, what I'm saying is I listened to more stories and stuff.
Yeah, I had the story of Star Wars and I memorized it, and that's why I still know the Trash Compactor code.
Yep.
But that's not my first record in my record collection.
No. But I had that too as well. I was Star Wars fiend. But so my sister, when I would walk down the hall, I would hear my sister's music, and it was 80s stuff at that point, And the bands that she listened to that spoke to me a little bit were the Violent Femmes.
Right on.
Particularly because I was cursing and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. It's amazing the way hearing some swearing in a song will make a kid's ears just perk up.
Yeah.
Whoa, what did he say?
Yeah, totally. Talking Heads, Depeche Mode. Pretty sure that, I don't know if it came out then or later, but Tears for Fears was also one of the 80s bands
Sounds
that
right.
I was like, oh my God, this is great. But
so she's older than you, so she's
older
listening
than me,
to cool music.
And I'm thinking it's pretty
that.
cool.
That means you didn't come in through metal.
I didn't come in through metal.
Okay. There's a delineation. There's the kids that came in through metal, and then there's kids that came in through like new wave.
Well, see, I came in through new wave, but then when I moved to the East Coast, it turned into rap and hip hop.
Yeah.
And at this point, I didn't have.
You're on a very Aram Arslanian trajectory.
Yeah, well, he's a good dude.
Yeah, and his is.
And I hope I'm a good dude.
He's mentioned some of the same bands, and then he went rap. So my question is then, did you get into rap?
Yes, because my sister didn't like it.
Did you rap?
Well, let's back up.
Did you have a rap name?
No, I definitely didn't.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's really all I wanted to know.
But there's another story.
Sure.
How long is the podcast? Good
hey,
grief.
people, how long have these podcasts
You
been?
might have part 1 and part 2. Sadly for everyone.
We're not even halfway through a part 1 if it's part 1.
Okay,
so
cool. All right, so there's a story. So in California, in the Valley, there were no African American people to be seen. I had never seen. There was one African American kid at my school in California. No, there was 2. Oh my God, there's so many good stories. Okay. So there was 2. There was Lydia, and then there was this kid, this boy, and I don't remember his name. Anyway, my sister told me in very strict confidence to not share this, which is why I'm sharing it now. And she always told me stuff that was wrong. So she always fucked with me. And if she hears this, it'll be funny because she'll remember this. Beth, you will remember this. She told me that black people have an extra bone in their ankle, and that's why they're so good at sports. And you told me that years ago. Okay, that's funny. And so
When did you stop believing that?
Do they have an extra?
Perfect answer, buddy.
So I couldn't ask the 2 people at school because they would laugh at me if I was wrong. And I also couldn't ask them because I didn't want them to know that I knew.
Wait, okay. So it's not that you didn't want to look stupid. It's that you didn't want to be found out as having the secret information.
I didn't, because it was too much of a secret to hold for one small boy.
Okay, I love this. It's total crazy town.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, let's move on, though. So another very quick story with Lydia, because we're discussing
this needs to have some kind of a nice ending.
It does.
Okay.
So I was allergic to... So I was born lactose intolerant. The first couple of years, I believe it was like soy milk at the time or something.
It's kind of vegan cheating, dude.
Dude, it's cheating. So then though, and then I started eating everything like every kid. And every kid has allergies, and every kid has like acne or whatever. I had acne really, really bad, like so bad, and didn't have girlfriends, nothing. It was really bad. Lydia was really nice to me. She was like at least 8 feet tall, and I was always a little tiny kid. And I got stung by a bee out on the playground. There was bees and wasps all over the brown grass where we played. Huge fields of it, and the bees just swarmed all around it, and you just were careful. But I got stung.
Well, the world was alive back then.
Yeah, bees existed still. I got stung. I had an allergic reaction, and my throat closed up. Couldn't breathe. And Lydia picked me up just as Frankenstein picks up whatever her name is. And she carried me. I remember she carried me down the hall to the nurse.
Wait. Does Frankenstein pick up the bride, or does he pick up the little girl and throw her in the water? Which one is it with Lydia?
Okay, well, don't assume that Frankenstein's monster threw the little girl in the water, because you don't actually see it happen.
I've always heard that was the story.
No, man. Watch the movie. Read the book. There are flowers floating in the water. She and him are throwing flowers into the water.
Yeah.
He picks her up.
Yeah, and throws her in the water because she's like a flower.
End scene.
Well, they couldn't show it because they couldn't.
End scene.
So, okay, you want me to believe that Frankenstein doesn't throw the girl in the water. That's not the point of the scene?
I believe, to this day, that, and my mom too, because we watched the movie many, many, many times.
Oh, this is how your mom made it okay for you. Go on.
The little girl jumped into the water. She thought she could float just like the flowers. Frankenstein, because his back hurt, was unable to reach down and grab her.
Why is she in the water?
She thought that she could swim and float just like the flowers.
But you said that you don't see her go in the water, so why do you have to have the girl in the water at all?
Because they pull her out of the water. She's drowned.
Okay, see?
You don't see Frankenstein's monster. Let's just call him Frankenstein's creation, because really he wasn't a monster. He was...
You know, everybody understands now, I think, that we say Frankenstein, we don't mean the doctor, we mean the creature that he created.
Fine.
And in fact, you can say Frankensteins now.
Okay.
To make plural versions.
True.
That's not even me.
No laughing.
That's like has
no laughing.
happened.
Hurts my back.
So,
hurts my back. No laughing.
No laughing. Okay.
So I don't believe the Frankenstein threw her in.
But I think it speaks to your character a little bit, the things that you care about. These are the kind of things that matter. If it was important to you as a kid that the Frankenstein didn't throw the little girl in the water and your mom helped you concoct a story about how Frankenstein's back hurt too bad to help get her out.
Okay, that I just made up because my back hurts. But
oh Jesus.
Okay. I don't. The next scene is, as I recall, the dead, drowned girl is being brought through the village, and everyone's super fucking pissed.
Right. I mean, literally, if I ever even saw this, I was a little kid. So.
And who do you blame? You blame the guy who's made of dead parts, who walks.
Yeah, the guy who did it.
You would respect this. You don't know that he did that. You make films. You write scripts. Maybe there's
I don't think there's ambiguity in Frankenstein. I don't think that's what it's meant to be.
You know what? You were carrying the torch that day in the town, and that sucks.
You said I'm a torchbearer.
Yep.
No, I'm not.
You are the one who believed. You. That's sad.
I'm more of a pitchforker.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay, I didn't mean to touch a nerve here. Let's move on.
So Lydia is carrying me down the hallway as Frankenstein's creation might have carried the young girl. Maybe he pulled her out of the water. Maybe.
Okay.
So my throat's closing up. Can't breathe. I get to the nurse. Lydia tells the nurse what happened, and I'm immediately given a shot of whatever it is that makes throats open when you've been stung.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Epinephrine?
But that my life possibly was saved by Lydia that day.
Sure.
And for many years after that, I believed that Lydia had an extra bone in her ankle, and that's why she was able to carry me. I was a child.
And you'd been told the story.
I'd been told the story. There's no way to fact check it. There's no Google.
Aaron, did you tell me as an adult this story?
I told you as an adult this story because it was funny when I was
But you didn't tell me... No. I'm not asking if you told the story of being carried.
Oh.
Did you tell me as an adult that you believed that the black people had an extra bone in their ankle?
Absolutely did not. Absolutely did not.
Are you sure?
I'm quite sure. That was a very funny story when I was a child, and I tell it now very sparingly.
No, I don't mean now. I mean 20 years ago.
No, 20 years ago.
Not 20. 18 years ago.
I probably believed that African Americans had an extra bone in their ankle that enabled them to run and jump faster, probably until I was 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There are 12-year-olds that believe in Santa Claus.
Wait. Okay. Now I live in DC, and I'm still too young for.
You haven't encountered punk rock music yet.
Sadly, no, because that's when everything was fucking raging. I didn't get to see any of the Discord bands then at that time. I saw them right after, but I didn't see Minor Threat, and I didn't even get to see To Today at the time. I didn't get to see Chain Strength, all the wave of fun, rad game changers. At the time, I was listening to Slick Rick and Run DMC.
But Chain Strength isn't until much later.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like even then,
right? Oh, even at that time,
I was into punk rock, but I didn't get to see them, and it was sad. But when Minor Threat was playing, I still wasn't, and Bad Brains when they started, I wasn't keyed in at that time. So basically, I went from Slick Rick, Run DMC, Beastie Boys. Someone, I don't remember. I wish I did. Said Iron Maiden's cool, and then I was into Iron Maiden and metal, and like no hip hop or rap.
Oh, so you abandoned?
I abandoned it because I think at that point I still believed that black people had an extra bone in their ankle, and I felt weird about the whole thing. No, I didn't. That's funny though. I keep bringing up.
It's a callback, but you did it too soon.
Yeah, I did it too soon.
In like 40 minutes, that's when you do an extra bone joke.
Okay. So I recall having Eddie Peace of Mind door poster on the back of my door. I couldn't have it on the front because it was too much for my folks to deal with. I had it on the back. And
that's him in the straitjacket?
Yep.
That's the Iron Maiden mascot, Eddie?
Yep. And then I drew him all the time on everything, like everybody else who did it. I drew it on skateboards. I painted it on stuff, on jackets. And then a couple of years must have passed, but I failed my first junior high. And in summer school, I met some kids who skateboarded. And I was like, oh, I used to skate. And, I don't skate like you guys skate. You guys really skate. But what do you guys want to hang out? And they're like, well, you can hang out with us, but, you're into Exploited and you're into Dead Kennedys and the Cramps and you're into punk rock. We listen to some different kind of music. And I was like, well, okay.
You had already made the transition from metal into that stuff.
Yeah. It was years later. I don't recall how I got in.
I always want to know. I always want to know the event.
No, I do. I actually recall now that we're going there. So I was listening to hip hop and then I got into metal and then I realized that, all the church that my parents are still forcing me to go to, there is a thing called youth group and girls go to youth group. And so I went to youth group. Now, still acne covered kid, allergic to everything. I went to youth group and I met a guy there that wore a trench coat, a kid.
Tell me more.
This kid's name I cannot remember. I wish I could. But he had on the back of his jacket the art for Stiff Little Fingers.
Oh.
And
I'm waiting for you to not be able to remember Black Flag or the Corrosion of Conformity skull. But no, Stiff Little Fingers.
Stiff Little Fingers. The Cramps, I believe, were my very first introduction to punk rock.
And from seeing the art on the back of that guy's trench coat,
I was like, what is that?
And wanting to know. Yeah. And after that, you're done. You have to know.
Yeah.
Because you know what, though? It's cool. Because especially with the Cramps, you're probably talking about that classic picture of that guy. It's like, that's not too far off from Eddie.
Right. There is a correlation. So, and it was all on cassette, of course. Mm-hmm. And at the time, he would slip me the cassette. But
and this makes sense for you. You were art driven into the music.
I was already drawing Eddie all the time.
Right.
I was already painting and drawing as a kid. In fact, wind back a couple of years, the only other things I ever won, 2 years in a row, out of the whole country, I won a poster contest on the back of Kellogg's cereal box. 2 free bikes, both years.
Really?
In a row. Fuck everybody, I won. Those are the only 2 things I ever won until fast forward. But they were road bikes, so I didn't care at the time, which is totally stupid because now I'm obsessed with road bikes.
Right.
I'm going to take a 5-minute break and you can play some music.
We're gonna take a break and then we'll come back.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay, we're back after a little bit of repositioning. We are here, and we were talking about you discovering music from the art on the back of a trench coat.
Indeed. Stiff Little Fingers.
Yep. And the Cramps.
And the Cramps. I think he had a Cramps button, perhaps. But either way, those were the first 2 bands. Really, he had me listen to things while I was at youth crew. Well, youth group.
Youth group.
So we're saying youth group. Youth crew. It was youth group. And I think that's where a girl first kissed me. So that was kind of cool.
First kiss in the church.
In the church, in fact,
at youth group.
In fact,
illegal.
Now I'm remembering. So what we did is one time there was a sleepover at the church.
They called them lock-ins.
Yeah, they fucking did.
Yeah,
those fuckers. So
was this like Pentecostal, like Holy Rollers, or what?
Episcopalian?
Okay, I don't know.
So it is what it is. It's church. So,
okay.
So there's a lock-in, and we're all stoked because the lights will be dimmed. And we will get to all be close to each other and fondle each other through sleeping bags.
Well, they didn't keep you up all night playing games?
They did, but then at some point, kids got to go to bed.
Yeah.
But I remember some girl got dared to kiss me, which fucking sucks. But that was my first kiss. I'm pretty sure that I can't remember.
So that sucks.
It sucks that somebody was.
It bothers you to this day that it was a dare.
Yeah. Although now that we're talking about all this stuff. There was a girl named Celeste in California who I would invite over to play, we would have slides, you know, we'd have like hoses set up on slides and kids would slide on them on the front of their lawns, that kind of thing.
Slip and slide.
Yeah.
But they're homemade.
They're homemade, like made out of a tarp or something cool, right? And big strips. I remember inviting Celeste. I haven't remembered this for years. First of all, her name's fucking amazing. I can remember her name. Celeste would come over in a little bikini, and I was, you know what? I don't know how old you are, and you're just about 6th grade.
11.
Okay, so she would come over, and I would invite her over, and then this is embarrassing, but I will say it because fuck it. I remember coming up with a game that was for her to chase me around my lawn. And so we're running around in my lawn, sliding around in the wet grass, her in a bikini, and probably that was my first actual like a known attraction to the opposite sex.
Is that noise gonna stay?
This will go away. Oh, but I don't know what that noise is.
Yeah, whatever it was is gone. So Celeste that was your first attracted to a girl. It wasn't just another playmate. It was like, oh, there's something different here.
Yeah,
I got to get her to chase me.
And she would chase me and accidentally catch me. Yeah, that was that. So then fast forward, my first kiss though was definitely at the lock-in, and it was on a dare, which is fucking miserable. That happened again later in life too. A girl was dared to go out with me on a full date and make out with me. So it's
wait, that's
a
like
recurring theme.
That's like a movie. It wasn't real.
No, really.
I wouldn't have taken that bet.
Really happened.
Wait, so what's the movie where the guy has to date the girl on the bet? She's All That. That's a 90s teen film.
Okay.
A guy dates a girl who's supposed to be ugly, but she's not at all. But
I don't remember.
She's an art girl, so she's got paint splattered over all, so she's ugly.
So you probably remember how terrible she felt when she found out.
Yes.
Well, that was me later, probably about age 15 or 16 or something.
So this girl didn't go out with you and make out with you and then decide she liked you. She just went, I did it, and got her like bubble gum or whatever.
You know why? Because life fucking sucks and the movies don't happen.
Well, no, it's just you have to make the movies entertaining. And
that's a good point.
Aaron, the thing about this is there's no humor on your face right now. This actually is making you mad.
I'm remembering there's 2 women, 2 girls.
Don't worry about their names.
Later in life, I worked at a bagel shop.
Yeah.
And I would serve lox and cream cheese to these people. And I remember at some point, these 2 beautiful girls came in and one said, hey, Aaron, do you want to go out? We're going to go see this movie and we can hang out and there's a party. And I was like, fuck yeah. That's never happened. Yes. You're beautiful. Yes. I know you're popular at school. Yes. And I remember being in the back of the theater. Is what you did. And you would make out. And then the next day I saw her at school and was like, hey, and she's like, don't talk to me. And someone at some point keyed me in that it was just a one-time thing.
It was like an initiation.
Yeah.
You should think of it that way. It's probably better than thinking of it as
you know
bet.
what? That was my initiation into hatred. Yep. Anyway, that was a little later.
That's pain, man. It's pain because
hurts.
You're sitting here with a broken back and MS, and I think you're more pissed off at this thing than just about anything.
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah, that sucked.
Insights into the mind of Aaron Edge.
Yeah.
Okay, you met some guys that said you listen to punk rock, and that's not what we listen to.
But the first cassette I bought,
was
Angry Samoans, Back from Samoa. I believe it's Back from Samoa, and that record was ripping. Like, it had songs like Hitler's Cock, I Found It Under a Rock. Like, the lyrics were incredible. It's just ridiculous. And you still listen to the songs, and the songs are well crafted enough today to like be like, man, that's like the punk I started on. Anyway, so I was a punk kid, and I had the mohawk, and I would walk around my parents' nice manicured cul-de-sac with a little boombox over my shoulder, listening to like Exploited quite a bit. I was a big Exploited fan. Black Flag, of course. But my first cassette was Angry Samoans. My first punk rock record was Reason to Believe, the 7-inch. So it's not When Reason Sleeps, which is the full length. It was the 7-inch before it.
But you don't have to definitely differentiate that between like punk rock and hardcore, because that was a record that was considered like hardcore record collection record.
And I remember when I got it was when
But that was different than their stuff you've been listening to. Did it kind of blow you away?
It fucking blew my mind. And so there's actually this
and
little
that
transition.
LP is fantastic.
Is the best record, the best melodic record of its time. There's nothing.
It's really way up
so
there.
Good. Later, I met
and you dug the God
John
references.
Bunch. Yes, but later I met John Bunch at the Rev reunion show in California, where I was living at the time. This was, a couple years back. I met him and told him the story, and he was like, I've never heard that my band was the first record they bought. And I was like, well, it is, and you're 12 feet tall. And it was very awkward talking to him. And he was so nice.
He's a tall guy with a cool voice.
He brought Walter over and was like, do you know Walter? And I was like, assuming possibly I did, because I had a backstage pass. Mm-hmm. I was working at Southern Lord at the time, so I was gifted all these really nice ways to meet people, like a backstage pass. And I was like, no, I've never met you, but I've seen every incarnation of your bands. And he was like, oh, that's really nice, thank you. And I was like, no, thank you. And I got a photo with them, and I can give you that later.
Oh, cool.
That was fucking mind blowing to meet those guys. Anyway, that was the first record I got. But there's a little bit between those things. So I was a punk rock kid. I was in summer school, and these kids were skateboarding during our break. They said, you can hang out with us if you don't do drugs, because we're all straight edge kids. And I was like, I don't know what that is, which was like awesome. I was 15 at the time. And since I was 13, I had been doing inhalants and drinking and huffing gas on my own, not at parties. I had no friends, in my closet or in the garage. That's all I did.
You were just drinking and doing inhalants and huffing
and playing in punk bands.
And you were doing this just by yourself because you just wanted to escape.
Yep. I was terribly depressed, and I was one of 2 drummers in town, so I was in like a bunch of bands, and that was my only release. And I did drugs with all these kids, and I didn't know what straight edge was. So I'm at summer school, and the band, I can't remember the band. They were in a band too. I remember the guy's name, Greg.
Okay.
And he said, if you want to hang out with us, you can't do drugs. We're straight edge. And I was like, tell me about it. And through him, I met a couple other kids who gave me a full 10 space collection of cassettes, like in a zipped bag. You remember those? Like, it was like a little case.
Yeah.
They filled
Case
it up.
Logic.
Yeah. So they filled it up with bands, knowing that I was going on a trip to come to Portland, oddly, to visit my cool uncle who plays music and is the younger of all the adults in my family who's still hip. They knew I was going on a plane, so they gave me these cassettes. I had no idea what they were. I brought fucking every extra battery I could for this, because this was going to be like a journey. And I was set to like check all this shit out.
Sure.
I get on the plane, and I'm totally spiked out and like mohawk and combat boots, and just a wreck for everyone else to see. And I unzipped the case, and I started going through all the bands. And the bands were Sick of It All, every Rev release, Gorilla Biscuits, Minor Threat, which by then, of course, was probably like broken up, because this was 80. This was 89.
Yeah. Oh, Minor Threat's gone for years at some point. So, and in fact, for those Rev releases to be out, it's got to be 89, 90 or
exactly. Yeah. And Youth Today and Bold and so that's what I'm taking with me. All straight edge related bands or members of straight edge band in this band that I'm listening to, or whatever it is. And
that's, so you got that all in one big hit.
One big fucking punch in the face. And
oh, that's how Aaron Edge happens.
Dude. So even better though. I decide right that date, like I'm learning. By then they talked to me about straight edge, what it is, how it technically could have started or whatever, via Ian's song. And I was like, oh my God. And at that point I probably had a Fugazi. No, maybe not. I probably didn't, because I hated Fugazi at first, because it wasn't Minor Threat. Anyway, I'm on the plane. Sorry everybody, I'm trying to make it short. I'm on the plane to Portland to visit my uncle. And by the time I land, I fucking have a whole new attitude. I'm going to be vegetarian. I'm not going to do drugs. And I'm going to claim it. It's going to be a big deal. So when I visit
You called it in the air.
I did. I totally did. I don't know where over what city it was, but it happened. And when I landed, my uncle and aunt were about to, they just had a child, and they had work for me to do. My parents had decided, he's fucked up. Uncle Rob, you take him. You're the one he loves, and you can tell him what to do, and you'll shape this kid into a good kid. So they had me doing all this work, taking stumps out of the ground and like cleaning up, and like I'm walking around this tiny town. It's actually not in Portland. It was on the beach, small town. I'm walking around this whole town, and totally shaved head. Then when I got there, and everyone thinks I'm a Nazi because that was big in Portland at the time, and in Oregon.
Oh yeah,
it was a big deal.
Yeah, and
I had decided I was a skinhead too. I was a sharp. I was a skinhead against racial prejudice, and I was decided that I was going to, fight racism, and I was going to fight racism in every town that I came to. And fast forward a few days, I'm staying there. I stayed there for a month. On my birthday, July 9th of 1989, my uncle said, "We bought a whole bunch of seafood home for you because I know you love eating seafood. It's all fresh, and we're having a gigantic, dinner tonight." And I was like, this morning I claimed that I'm straight edge and I'm also a vegetarian and I'm not going to eat fish. And he said, "Okay, I get that you're young and you want to wave flags and you want to be this good person, but do it tomorrow. Like, I just bought all this seafood." And I was like, "No, I can't do it." And I wouldn't do it. And so I decided that, if I can make a decision like that, give up all the drugs, give up eating meat, that
disappoint the family,
but discipline myself. A disappointment and a discipline all at the same time. Yeah. My aunt.
Well, and that's a reason.
It was really cool.
That's a reason to remember the day. I mean, that's the.
And so every time I come up with a New Year's resolution, it's on my birthday.
Yeah.
So later, fast forward 3 years, I actually became vegan on my birthday, 19th birthday. So my aunt thought it was really cool that I was able to make this crazy decision and live by it that day. And my uncle was pissed. He was bummed.
Yeah. He pulled the rug out on his excitement a little bit. What are you going to do?
On my birthday that night, for a present, my Uncle Rob says, "You're a weird kid. You like music, and that's rad." And, we had jammed down in his basement. He's a guitarist. He plays like Jimi Hendrix. He's very good, very soulful. I would play drums, and we'd hang out in his basement. It was perfect for me to be there. While I was there, so this is my birthday. That night, my Uncle Rob passes me a present, and I unwrap it, and it's a very strange looking, gigantic book. And I don't care about books. I don't read. I'm a kid. And I can't even pronounce what it's called. And he says, "You're a weird kid. I got this in an airport, and you might enjoy this. It's totally weird, and I just don't eat. It's been in my collection and dusty for like 30 years. So just, I don't know, you might dig it. It's totally weird." And I was like, "Okay."
And how do you pronounce that book?
The Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
I was introduced to Hare Krishna by my uncle. Not even hardcore.
Who is not a Krishna.
Who's not a Krishna. Who's not a vegetarian. So who doesn't give a damn.
So you started reading that thing.
I did. And at first I read it and was like, this is weird. I don't understand.
Sure. Now you and I have had this conversation many times, and you being not a Christian anymore, I'm not afraid to offend you. I had no place for this Hare Krishna garbage in right from the beginning.
Half the world didn't.
And I still don't. And I don't like any religion whatsoever in my hardcore. It's not chocolate in my peanut butter. It's exactly the opposite of what that would be. And that's not peanut butter in my chocolate. It's awful. So you were part of actually something that and the more I was exposed to it, because there was first we were stoked on Inside Out, and then we were stoked on Shelter, and they were good, and then Shelter played bills, but everything was getting way more. And by the time it was 108, I was just like, God, please, no more of this. But that's your whole life at this point, I'm imagining.
Not yet. I got this book. I'd never heard of it. Didn't know what it was. I got back. Sorry, I'm there for about a month. I buy records while I'm there. I'm so excited about all the tapes that my friends have bought or loaned me that I buy records while I'm there at my uncle's house. And I buy Reason to Believe's first 7-inch. And I was like, The drumming was great. It was the first like hardcore or punk band besides, Dag Nasty that was one of the tapes. It was one of the first bands I heard where singing was cool over rocking, like, but abrasive enough hardcore or punk. And then I decided, okay, I can listen to all kinds of different music.
Sure.
That's angst driven. So I get back home, and my parents are like, "How was your trip?" And I was like, "It was awesome. So many things happened, and I know you guys won't believe it, but I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not doing any drugs. Not behind your back. I'm not going to buy a joint every day with lunch money at school, and I'm a vegetarian now." And they were like so excited for some of it, and not going to believe it that I was, completely sober. They were excited to hear that I was excited about it. They were not excited about vegetarianism, and I know that my uncle got called, and they were like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Yo, I had nothing to do with that." So it was tough being vegetarian at home, living at home when you're 16, and I ate a lot of grillers. I remember that was the vegetarian burger at the time, possibly even vegan. I can't even remember. My friends and I, my punk friends, we all became vegetarian.
Sure.
Not everybody be straight edge, but all my friends.
Huge wave of it at that time.
Yeah, big.
Because you're in about 1990 now?
1989, 1990, yep. Yeah. And I'm living in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and we had a pretty rad scene. There was only a couple of us drummers, like I said, so we were in demand. So my first straight edge band I played in was Set of Standards, and we did covered a couple Instead songs, and we did 2 originals. And my friend Ronnie, who I'm still friends with here, and Nate Newton and Dave Brown. These are all guys that are still around and giving a damn about music, if not like, raising their fist still. But like Nate Newton plays in Converge, and Doom Riders, just travels the world. And I love that he is still doing what he loves to do. Every time I see him, I'm so stoked for him. And there's others. Another friend, Ian, he played bass in that actual band. He's still out there playing music.
Were you in Virginia Beach in 93?
Let's see. Probably DC still.
Okay. Well,
because I moved from Virginia Beach to DC.
Did you come out to whatever Undertow Sparkmarker show would have been closest to where you were living in 93, summer 93?
I saw that show, and my band opened, called Anonymous. We opened for Sparkmarker, but I don't know if it was when Undertow was on tour with them.
In 93?
I did see Undertow at a show in DC with like a bunch of other big bands though. Maybe Earth Crisis, maybe...
In the winter, not in the summer.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember. It was all those shows.
Well, I was just gonna adjust when we met, because if you came out on the 93 Sparkmarker Undertow, you met me there. Probably.
I did play with Sparkmarker, but I don't think it was with Undertow.
Ryan singing or Kim?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I just remember being like, "Who's that band?"
Right. Okay.
And then being like, "Oh, that band."
Cool.
That was later though. Okay. That was when
All right, so yeah. We're gonna stick with the party, with the Halloween party.
Yeah.
But we could have run across each other if you were active in going to shows. And most of the requirements for the things that I want to know about have now been met.
Right.
I want to know about you and Krishna.
Okay, so then I come back with the Bhagavad Gita, and I still have the book and don't care about it. And then my friends say, "We're going to go see Shelter's new band play, and they might play some Youth Today songs. And it's at a Hare Krishna temple in Maryland." And I was like, "What the hell's that?" I was like, "Oh, wait. That fucking weird book I got from my uncle, I think it says something Hare Krishna." I got the book out and was like, yeah. So I hear, before I go to the show, I hear Shelter. And I don't know when that was. It's very difficult to...
Do you remember which record you heard?
I don't, because I'm pretty sure I recall my Virginia Beach friends taking me to see the first show they played.
Okay.
And it was at the temple, and they played some... And my friends on the gram will have to try and correct me on this. But in my mind, it's their first show, and Shelter played, Youth Today played a few songs after, which is the same guys, clearly. But they played some of the 7-inch songs. like at the end of these today, which are fantastic songs.
Yeah, okay.
Like the better of the songs, I think. But on the way,
but you don't mean the Shelter 7-inch. You're not talking about Sarah Nagate and stuff like that.
No, I'm talking about the last Youth Today record.
Okay. All right, cool. So you see Shelter play.
But as I recall, and I say this all the time, but as far as I can remember, I had already gotten stoked on Krishna on the way to that show because I remember having beads that I had put together myself because I didn't have them.
You had homemade beads.
I had homemade beads before I was Hare Krishna, and I think I was chanting in the van. And when I put this up, my friend Mike McCann was in the van because I have a photo of us both in the van. We went with our friends in a band called Tomorrow's Gone, which was the local hardcore band that played on stages. Like they were the bigger band, not huge, but like they would open for bands that came into town. And I was chanting on these beads on the way, had no idea what I was doing, but my stoke level was fucking on fire.
Yeah.
And then I saw Shelter play. I met a devotee named Richard, old guy, probably 70 at the time, who said that he could tell that I was a yogi in my past life. And I fucking flipped.
Now the sound of my eyes rolling doesn't come through the mic, but Aaron saw it.
I'm a kid. I'm impressionable.
Hey, were you still able to fit into your old white ninja suit? Because you could have just...
I could have just kicked his ass.
Oh, I would say you could have just worn that instead of the...
Oh, it's true. But don't mix cultures. Don't mix them. I was hooked like right away. I was like, well, this is my life forever. I don't want to live with my parents already. If I can play music.
Oh, and you're pissed at women because of the bet.
No.
And so the whole Krishna thing probably made sense.
No, because of course the Hare Krishna movement doesn't want you to feel that. They don't want anyone to feel as if they're not welcome. So I wasn't keyed into anything sexist. I wasn't keyed to anything racist. I wasn't keyed to anything except this.
Right, but going into a place where you didn't have to maybe deal with girls.
Well, that's a good point.
Was maybe getting away from this traumatic event that had happened to you involving these girls.
Got it. Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
I need a reason for this to make sense to me, so I'll look for it. Maybe it'll work for you too.
No, you can reach and find something. Basically,
I reach out my hand.
Yeah. Basically, my my parents forced Christianity on me, and my sister, when she stayed Christian, she still is, and I wanted to believe in something so bad, and then all of a sudden there's this entity that is both good and bad, and it praises and punishes. I was like, no, devil? That's pretty fucking rad. But there's demons that tear people apart. That's cool. Krishna has 6 arms, and he's blue, and he also can be technically a woman as Radha Krishna. I was like, this isn't sexist. This is like real deal. Like God is a man and a woman kind of at times. Well, I'm in. And there's bands playing music about it and getting away with it. Fuck yeah. So that's when I met Rob Fish, technically. Was when 108 and Shelter did one of their first tours in a bus. They brought a bunch of kids to be stoked and be Hare Krishna kids and just be stoked and carry gear. And I remember being in an early Shelter video behind, I believe Eric was playing drums, standing behind him. There was incense everywhere. My eyes were burning up, and I was behind him doing this, like, the dance that we all did, and like hands up and fucking.
I wish I could have got a picture when you first did that, because you got real into it there for a minute.
Well, I'm being sarcastic, but I'm also remembering.
It looked pretty good though.
Well, I'm also remembering that I was so stoked.
You were excited about it.
I was like,
I would hope so. I was like, there has to be something. There has to be a reason why you're in this bullshit.
There was every reason. There was a different God that no one wants to admit they like or that could exist. It was from a different culture in a different language.
Sure.
Which was fucking amazing and intriguing. They didn't eat meat. Fucking awesome. What a great culture to be invited into. And they weren't into intoxicants or sex outside of marriage. And I was like, girls don't really like me anyway. So this could be my life forever.
And it was for a long time.
9.5 years.
That's insane.
But during that time, I did have girlfriends. There was times when girls would let me have sex with them.
Wait a minute. It's not 9.5 years, because that puts it 3 years after we met. You're still a Krishna.
It was...
Even if it started in 1990, it has to end by 1997.
It ended in 97. So was that
7 years?
7 years. So 7 years. Correct.
And if it starts in the beginning of 90, we can include that and we can make it 8. So it's close.
It was 89.
Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It is. But I'm like,
yeah,
oh my God,
yeah.
If you're talking about Shelter and 108 at the beginning, that would put you way beyond. When I met you, you weren't Krishna anymore.
Correct.
So, and I remember that being a weird thing, and I talked to you about it and be like, this is weird to me.
Yeah, and I was like, it's weird to me too at that point. I mean, I was a
Because you were a full-blown Krishna
I wasn't
in
ever
93.
Yeah,
okay.
but I wasn't initiated. So basically, I was a devotee in the sense of... Wait a
minute.
So there's an initiation you have to go through, and if you don't, then you are...
You're a devotee, and then you get initiated, or you're initiated to be a devotee?
You call yourself a devotee because you're into Krishna culture, but you become initiated at some point, and you follow a spiritual...
Is that kind of like with Scientologists, where they reveal that it's all bullshit?
No, they actually further wash your brain.
Oh, really?
Get a better scrubbing.
Well, ultimately, I do think that's what the Scientology thing is too.
But remember that now that I'm not in it, I can say that even though I was being cleansed and brainwashed, I believe that, I also wanted it.
I think it's okay. No. I think it's okay for you to look back and telling this story. And even though I'm clearly a much more hostile party in this, to look back and say, no, I know the reasons I did it, and I accepted this brainwashing religion type thing.
Yep.
And they were good for me, and I'd do it again. And I totally would accept that.
Yep. If it happened and at the same time in my life, I definitely would have done it. It did a few things for me. It gave me a reason to not want to kill myself, because I was a suicide attempt kid.
So it's good enough then.
And it brought me more into music, definitely. Like, it didn't want to give up on it. It gave me something to believe in besides just punk rock, which wasn't quite enough at the time for me. And there was so many of us got into it, so it was a big crew. I mean, God, you could have been hardline. And I would have been if I didn't catch it early. Like, I read into it, was like, nope.
So you're not all crazy.
Yeah. And so even though I was interested in Hare Krishna, like I said, I still had girlfriends. I still was in bands. I still went to college. And there were times when, of course, I was more into it and less into it. Oh,
so you ebbed and flowed.
I did. There were times when I lived in Hare Krishna temples for a while. There were times when I'd come back to my home. There were times when I'd live in an apartment and I'd move back into a temple. But I never stopped believing in the 4 principles, which were the 4 principles of your religion, which were sex outside of marriage, substances, gambling, and, oh my God, what's the other one?
Vegetarianism.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
That's it, isn't it? It was opposed to those things.
Were you a yogi in your past life?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I was Yogi Bear.
That rules. That's the first good laugh for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I do what I can.
Yogi the Bear. Rad. I watched all your cartoons. So yeah, I did that, and I played the other day. A friend asked me how many bands I was in. Well, not the other day, like 6 months ago. And I said, I don't know. Let me spend some time and count.
You had to count them up.
53.
You've been in 53 bands?
53 musical endeavors.
I'm not going to question it for a minute. I'm sure that you were
Some were a recording. Some were one show. Some were a week. Some were years. Some toured. Some didn't. Some recorded. Some didn't. Some were just me filling in for a while, but in the band, and then that was it. But yeah, 53, not counting maybe some of the 2 new ones. So yeah, maybe at this point, 55 musical endeavors.
Okay, so I think we're going to end up talking about some of those bands here in a little bit, but I think that's mostly what we want to know up to the meeting.
Yeah.
Tell me what made you come out of Krishna. I am interested in that. What's the thing that made you go no?
There was a time in Philadelphia. So I was working at a tattoo shop, and this is post-college. Actually, technically, I went to school in Richmond, Virginia for 2 years. Lived there for a bunch and played in bands and toured. And then I moved to Philadelphia, played in bands and toured, and I went to my second college, which I was more serious about. The first was fine art. This was graphic design specific. And I was working in a tattoo shop as a shop manager. And Philadelphia was a rough place at that time. And the hardcore scene was rough. We all were in straight edge gangs and fights, and it was brutal. It was a rough time, actually. But because I had a crew, not that much happened to me, and I was sort of protected from when stuff went down. And if I was a jerk and started something up, they backed me up. Didn't matter what it was. But there was one time where, and I don't want to go into too many specifics because I don't want people to be looked up again, and I don't even want to stir it up because it was that bad.
And it's recent enough that everyone's still there. So, or everyone's still around somewhere.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But I stood up for someone, and I stood up for the wrong person to these other people. That I still would stand up for this person because they were the best, good-hearted person.
Right.
They basically raised their voice against a gang of thugs and said, these guys suck in our scene. And I protected him because he got roughed up. And then it was me that took the brunt of it. And because it was someone I knew very well, I didn't fight back. And I refused to, as sort of like a statement, because the whole scene was there to see it. I didn't fight back, and I got pummeled real bad. I also had just played in a band where we played a festival with another band. That band was really thuggish. Huge fight broke out. This is like hundreds of children that we are all children, basically, like young, very young adults. And I saw girls getting beaten with chairs. I pulled a kid out from under a table, so covered in blood I couldn't tell what sex they were. The scene was getting so rough. And I had already quit a band to move into a temple because I was tired of it. I quit Grip. Yeah. Grip was one of my favorite bands I was in at the time. First band I ever recorded a record with. And we played a show with Resurrection. And this was, I don't know, early 90s. And I told Chris Daly that night, I was like, I'm quitting. I don't want to play music anymore. And he's like, why? I was like, did you see all the fights that we had to stop and wait for them to, fizzle out all night? This was, I believe, in Boston, which is a tough city.
Yeah.
And I told Chris Daly I was done, and he said, don't let the other people ruin it for you. And I remember that forever. But it did ruin it for me for a time. I moved into a temple, wasn't in a band for a while, came back, went to college, whatever. Scene was rough. I started to grow up, I think, a little bit. And the people around me, they either weren't growing up or they just didn't want to change. And I sort of thought that my life wasn't going far and it was pretty crummy. And it was my selfishness of thinking God wasn't being good to me that made me believe there wasn't a God. Which is completely selfish to think that if there was a God, that God would look out for only you and protect only you.
Right.
But I'm glad that I thought that, because it stirred up emotions in me that was like, this is just life. This is just, there's nothing else. It's just us. And that made me instantly feel like, when you make a big change in your life and you stick to it, like becoming straight edge or at that time I had been vegan, it was one more choice I could make that would make me feel better. And I instantly did. I was like, I don't think I believed in God. I just wanted to. And I loved the culture, the Krishna culture around it. So it
believing in God was kind of like the price of admission. Believing in their God.
Kind of, but it wasn't really a price of admission. It was more like, I never felt like, though I firmly believe that I was, like brainwashed some, I still believe that it was a welcoming thing. Every time I stepped away from from Krishna consciousness a little bit, and, never with drugs or eating meat or anything, but more like to fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have, spiritual teachers tell me, you can't love another human.
Right.
You can only love God because that's a shell you're loving, a soul you're not knowing. So you can't really be in love. And I was like, no, I can, and I am.
Right.
And then I would come back a little bit more.
What an impossible standard to set. It makes no sense to me.
Really rough, too, as a young adult.
Yeah.
So finally, I just took a stance and was like, I don't believe, and my life is pretty bad here in Philadelphia. I just graduated with honors, but I don't feel like this is the place I want to live. And everyone that I know is talking about the West Coast. I grew up there. It's time to go back. And then everything is Seattle and Portland.
Okay, so we're up to, now we've met. Now I get...
And I flew over, by the way. I flew over with a Marshall amp in a case, a guitar, and one gigantic backpack full of clothes.
When I met you...
No records.
No, nothing. When I first came to the first place you were living, you were living in a closet under the stairs.
Yep.
That had just enough room for you to lay down.
Yep.
And it had a little shelf with some books and some things. You probably could hang some shirts in there because it probably had a place to hang stuff up.
Yep.
Pants. And that was how you lived. And I thought, that's awesome. I'm a little bit jealous. It's so simple. I like that this guy can do this. This guy's cool.
Right.
And we were very quickly talking about the Harkonnen 7-inch.
Yeah.
We were very quickly talking about the genuine thing.
Yep.
And you also got hair extensions.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah,
it has to come up.
And so here's a paragraph. I have gone through every single possible hardcore punk trend there ever was. Name one.
Was there a hair extension trend?
There was. In Philadelphia, kids were like growing out their hair, right? And if they couldn't grow it out fast enough, they were getting extensions. So, but let me back up.
But you had braided hair extensions.
I can't recall.
No, I can recall.
Okay.
Because this is what I want to throw in because I love this. Okay.
Right.
At the time, you told me I'm going to get hair extensions, and I thought you were fucking with me.
Yeah.
And I probably made a joke, and you it was the first time I ever saw you, and we were new friends, but it was the first time I ever saw you go, "What's your deal?" Like with a look on your face, like, no, fuck you. Like,
right.
and I know that look now. I've seen you do it many times. Like, if you have an idea, and it has a hair extensions to you is artistic. So
right. It's an expression.
It would be like me saying, "Don't put a lobster claw on that" when you're drawing something, right?
Right.
So I kind of was like, oh my God, he's serious. And you were like, it's going to look so killer in pictures. And there's some pictures of you playing in Harkonnen where you're like whipping your head back and the hair is like flying out, but it's braids. And I remember thinking, he's right. I can't believe he's walking around with that, but that picture looks killer. And do you have the picture?
Of course not.
I had the picture. I don't. I know for a fact it doesn't exist in my possession. You may have destroyed it at some point.
It's not so much I destroyed it as like the last 2 years, which we'll get to, have been like so hellish that I got rid of even less stuff and probably got rid of a whole lot of my past.
Okay. And
but
that probably wouldn't have been like, because you didn't, this is the thing, is I know they cost money and you didn't keep them very long.
Well, so there's a couple parts of that. First, every time I made a decision in punk rock and hardcore, I backed it up fiercely, no matter what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, being a sharp skinhead, which we had an actual gang that would go around and beat up Nazis. We actually did that. That was a thing. And I had all the meetings in my garage, my parents' garage, which is fucking rad. After the couple times I ran away and came back, whatever. And I did the whole Letterman straight edge, jacket, of course. And I had one for many years. I gave it to our friend Carrie Fiegel. Hope she still has it. Maroons, that straight edge on the back. I moved with that jacket, like still wearing it.
Hey man, it's a good look.
Dude, it was. And I can't pull it off. Tim from Mouthpiece still can. And I love it that he can still do it.
Yeah, some dudes still can.
Yeah, totally rad. I did the big pants so big you can't believe it. I did
I couldn't do that one.
I later I did extensions. The first time they were blonde extensions.
Did you say first? You said first time.
Yeah, I actually did it twice.
Oh, you did it before.
So I did it in Philadelphia because I hope this comes across as funny and not like terrible.
It's going to come across as funny.
Okay. So there was a woman in Philadelphia who said she was beautiful. And she said, and this was on South Street, Philadelphia. There's all kinds of crazy fucking awesome shops there. Like, you know, one shop has animals in formaldehyde and they sell them, and it's black market shit, and it's, you don't question it's fucking voodoo. The next shop is, you know, the most killer cheesesteaks ever. The next one next door is the most killer vegan cheesesteaks. Like, just, well, next door to that was a punk rock hair salon. This woman was so beautiful, and she somehow, I can't recall how we met, maybe when I was working at the tattoo shop. She said, I'm working on doing some new photos or whatever for my portfolio. And I had just enough hair that you could put extensions in. And she did. And, it was kind of an unsaid thing that at the end of the night, we were going to be
got it
together.
There was an implication.
And it was an application.
Implication to application.
And I was stoked. Granted, this was way after.
Oh, so you were worried that was going to come off bad?
Yeah, and it of course didn't. Right?
It's life, dude. Come on.
But this was.
Do I think you'd do it today? No.
Nah. No. But see, I all my acne disappeared on my 19th birthday because I was allergic to dairy my whole life.
Yeah.
And my body was fighting it, so girls didn't care about me. I'm not saying they care all of a sudden, but basically, my acne went away forever. I get like one blemish a year.
No, you came to Seattle, and a number of women were interested in you.
That's what you say, and I will say that
that's what I saw.
I have fallen in love, and I have been graced and blessed, for lack of a better word, with the presence of many beautiful women in my life. I will say that. This woman was like outrageous, like supermodel. And I was like, this isn't going to happen. And it happened. Well, but then I had braids, and I was playing in this band called Christ at the time. And half the people made total fun of me.
You might have showed me the picture of Christ.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And
I thought it was her.
And half the people were stoked because like other kids were doing it too.
Yeah.
Like, and again, another fad that I got into. First, it was all of us growing our hair out and having a headband. Remember that? Mm-hmm. That was a thing. We all did that with backpacks. That was a fucking thing.
Sure.
Well, then you wanted your hair to be even longer with that, so you put extensions in.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just
admittedly
grow my hair.
Admittedly stupid, but all the trends had their stupidity, and all the trends. I mean, we were all growing up. That's what we did.
Yeah, I don't care about hair extensions. I just think the braids were what was funny.
The reason I did the hair extensions in Seattle was because I became like, when I lived in Philadelphia, I was still like bright gray hoodies with straight edge slogans. I moved to Seattle and I met some dark people. I got more into metal.
We're an overcast place, man.
Well, and you know who I moved in with was Andrew Gormley.
Oh yeah.
And Andrew Gormley was like, everything you listen to is fucking shit.
Well, that's not true, but
he is brutal.
But I could see how
he is brutal with his opinions. And he was like, you need to stop playing in bands with double kick. If they're going to play that sound, if you want that sound, they have to use one pedal, one drum, not even two drums. They have to be fucking good. And I was like, I respect you. And I wasn't even a child then. I was an adult, and I was like, I respect this guy. This fucking guy is amazing. I lived with him as well as Damien from Kiss It Goodbye. Those guys still the best dudes.
Absolutely.
Like, no question. And I don't see either of them that often, but I love them both. Like, they're great people. They both like went different ways, and both directions have their like meaning and awesomeness to me as we grow up. But anyway, I lived with them, and it was killer. Like, I got into so much good music, and I became dark. I wore all black, and still to this day, like, I wear all black.
Okay, so actually, I'm gonna jump in here.
Yeah.
Also, because we're gonna get a lot of stuff in the next like half hour or so before this thing has to stop up. So, right around this time, a couple things happened. I asked you to be in my movie.
Yeah.
I was writing The Edge of Quarrel. I had a character named Rollo.
Yeah.
Who you had all the tattoos, you had the look. I think you told me I can't act. I said, don't worry, I'll make sure you can do this. That's
exactly what I said. And that's exactly what
happened.
And
you did fine.
I'm not sure about that.
Well, no, you did something horrible that I'm about to bring up. And it goes along with what you're saying about this whole dark.
Are you sure you want to bring it up?
You better believe it.
Okay.
Because for me, it's a hilarious story.
If you're going to say guy liner, I'll admit that happened.
No, I love that. No.
Okay, that
I would
happened
never.
too.
That's fine. I'm totally cool. Guy liner meaning guy eyeliner.
Yes.
No,
indeed.
that's fine. I'm fine with that. No.
I went through that trend too. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that
Whatever.
everyone knows every fucking bad thing
I would
ever
probably
did.
do that myself if I ever thought about it. Like, I think it's fine. Like, who cares? But
You know, there needs to be just a little bit more said about that.
okay.
I went through a phase where I was on tour all the time,
Mm-hmm.
whether I was in a band or working for a band. And at that time, guys were looking more pretty.
Yeah.
And because I was always, I'm admitting it, I was always trendy. I followed that. And you know what? While I was on tour, as far as girls were concerned, it worked.
Look, Soto, one of the most metal dudes, you know Soto, and he talks in his episode just a few episodes back about wearing eyeliner and wearing makeup and the girls responding to it in high school and junior high. That's fine. That's a dirty little secret, right? What was the
No, but the problem with that is, and it makes me even worse, is that he did in high school. And then
you did it when you were 30, but
I did
whatever.
It as an adult, as a fucking stupid adult. Not 30. We're talking 25, but still. Okay.
Okay.
So
but here's what I want to say.
You wanted to talk about the film.
I asked you to be Rollo in The Edge of Quarrel. You're like the crazy guy, the crazy straight edge guy, the enforcer for John Pettibone's gang. And you agree, but it takes me forever to make The Edge of Quarrel because we were doing it on weekends and days off, whenever I could get people together. And I believe after you had already agreed and after it gets going, HIMSA starts up and you're playing in HIMSA. HIMSA is awesome and I'm excited about it and everything's cool. And then you show up one day and you have a fucking beard.
Yeah.
And I have already filmed scenes. In fact, we already did the majority of the filming, which is all the way up through the Rumble.
With a goatee.
With just what you looked like. Whatever you looked like, right? And then, there's all this in between stuff that I have to film still. And so I'm like, well, dude, I just need to film this last stuff. We can really schedule it, but I need you to shave. And you're like, no, I'm never shaving.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I do, believe me.
That's great.
Aaron, you're not going to remember. See, we're far enough away that we can laugh. And we've always remained friends. We remained friends through this, but I was very angry at you. So you said,
did I shave finally?
Well, listen, because here's why the story still, it makes me laugh, but also if I thought about it, I could get mad.
Okay.
So you said, dude, it's not going to matter. No one's going to care. I said, no, there are scenes that we still have to film that happen minutes between other scenes. Like you can't look different. And you said, just put bandages on my face.
Whoa.
And I said, now you're saying that now, having lived 15 years since Edge of Quarrel came out and had to suffer through having been in that movie, but you've seen it and you realized that I actually completed a movie.
Of course.
At the time, we were fucking around with the camera. You didn't know. So your whole thing was, when I said it won't look right, you can't just suddenly go from one scene to another and suddenly have bandages, and you were like, no one's going to care. And I remember being like, he's not, and I go, he doesn't think this will be real.
Right.
There's a lot of noise outside, but I'm going to continue with the story because I'm not going to tell it again. So I got really upset and I said, dude, if you can't shave this beard, your character has to come out of the film. And you're like, I'm not shaving the beard, dude. We all promised we're a bearded band. HIMSA is a band with beards. So I rewrote The Edge of Quarrel to take your character. It removed about 90% of Rollo so I could reshoot the film, that I could reshoot the minimal amount of shots that you had already been in. You'd still be in the Rumble, but you would not, everything that was the beard was going to screw up had changed, which had to diminish your role massively. And once I finished it and had a new script, I was just getting ready to restart filming and you showed up clean shaven.
Oh, man.
So I wrote Edge of Quarrel twice. Once because you made me.
So are you saying now that you want to do all the bearded movie version of it?
No. Okay. There's about 60 pages of a sequel with your character in it, though.
Wow.
It's very important.
Does it mean a wheelchair?
It starts on the day you get out of prison.
Oh, I remember this talk.
Yeah, no, it's actually some of it's really good.
You talked me into it because a couple other people are willing to do it. So
I'm not going to make the movie. Come on, I was just going to write it.
All right,
but no. So here's the thing.
I want to say that I'm very sorry.
But I think it's so funny now.
It's hilarious now, but I'm sorry because I know how you and I are when we want to do a project, we want to do it right, and it's gonna fucking happen.
Of course you're that guy, and of course I'm that guy. Right. Like, so, dude,
We're both so stick to itness.
But when I tell people the movie took 2 years to make, that's part of the reason it took 2 years to make.
That sucks.
But dude, it only did so much damage.
You know how ridiculous Himsa was? We not only vowed to have beards, we vowed to all go out and buy the same shoes. No shit. I shit you not. We all went to Payless and we all bought vegan boot shoes. There is a promo photo somewhere, and the old 8x10s or whatever that you would make and pass out, like when I worked at the Rocket, and you'd have to scan them in. There are shots of us that we took that Robin Leaninen, I think is her name, in Seattle. She shot.
Is that how you pronounce it? Robin L?
Yes, Robin Leaninen. I'm pretty sure it's Leaninen because we worked at the Rocket. Sure. She took our promo photos, and we all had those boots and black jackets and at some point beards. God, that's crazy.
I'm gonna find out if she still has the photos.
She might.
She might be willing to send one up for the page. That
would
would
be awesome.
And I'd like to see the beard because it caused me. I mean, my God, you caused me so much work.
As I recall, there's photos with Motor and D without beards, and then there's photos with all of us with beards.
And then you guys, and thank you for abandoning it because it allowed me to actually have your character in the story the way I wanted. And thank you for being Rollo and having to put up with the shit for being in that movie for all these years.
Of course.
And you're the image of the movie that I've used to promote it, which is
as ridiculous kind of as it is. I'm really glad that it happened because it means we stayed friends and hung out, and whenever we saw each other, we were happy to see each other because the movie sort of. It was a bond between people.
It was fun.
I mean, later in life, when I would see the Mercy Devils guys, they would remember me because we did a movie together. Otherwise, we didn't hang out that much, and I would just be a fan.
I feel bad sometimes that all of you are now shackled to this thing that you've had. I mean, people talk about like, oh, this person recognized me here, and people get recognized in other countries and stuff. And I love that everyone seems to have a pretty good, like, they seem to have fun with the idea that they're in this. It's not a B movie.
Let me tell you,
it's like a G movie.
I don't know if I've told you this story. I'll tell you the short version about the film. So I was on tour after the film came out, maybe a year or two, and it was starting to be passed around. It was this cult thing that you'd go on tour and people would throw on the movie while
there were only VHS copies that I made. They had to buy them through Excursion.
Yep, mail order. And I was on tour with somebody, and I went outside, and there's this big group of kids, like 20-year-old dudes, and they're all looking very sinister, and they're all together, and they're blocking the outdoor way to get out. This was this is at the Kilby Court in Salt Lake City, and so there were these kids out there, and they were blocking the way to get from the patio. Like you walk out, and then there's another exit to get out to the street. They're blocking it. And I started walking towards them, and they kind of hunched up closer and tighter as a unit. And I was like, all right, fucking have to cut my way out. And I had my box cutter in my hand, as we all did. And I was ready to actually literally fight these guys. And there are certain things that I do in a fight in order to end the fight quickly. And I won't tell because it's a top secret.
That's fine.
But I have 2 moves, and I was prepared to do them to the biggest guy. Because that always, when those moves happen correctly, not incorrectly, but correctly, half the other guys are done already. They're like, well, fuck it. Never mind. I got close to these guys. They got tighter, and I was like, fuck. Like, I'm an adult. I moved away from Philadelphia. I don't want to fight anymore. Got closer and closer until I was like just about ready to swing, and one of the guys goes, hey. I was like, yes. Are you Rollo from the movie? And I was like, fuck, this is even worse. I was like, yes. And they all like dropped kind of like hands to knees in like joy. Like, oh, and they all released their tension, and they were like, yes, we fucking love that movie. It's so good. Dude, they all gave me high fives. They crowded around. There was hugs, signing shit. At that moment, hundreds of miles from you, I hated you because in the best way possible.
That's for the beard, man.
It's for the beard.
Oh, God, that's so awesome.
There was also, of course, the kid that came up and wanted to make out with me, boy, because he loved the movie. He wanted me to sign it. He called it his Bible.
No, don't say stuff like that. Matt Matsuoka thinks that the movie is a secret gay initiation film, or he thinks the whole thing is a gay conspiracy.
Then he might be right.
But don't say that.
But this kid was, and the girls in To See You Broken can tell you that some of the stories about this kid that came up to the merch table. I was doing merch for them, traveling with them, and this kid came up and said that it was his Bible, and it was so.
Oh, that's sad.
But you know what? We were children. We made this movie and a lot of children watched it.
But we weren't children.
We weren't children. That's the fucking...
No, you know what? I'm sorry. With the life that we were involved in, we might as well have been.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My 20s were like other people's teenage years.
Yeah, good point.
So that's just...
But then a kid got a tattoo of the phone being ripped from the payphone.
Yeah.
And that was actually fucking rad. Because then it's fun. And that was a great tattoo and the kid was stoked. It wasn't like... super fan. He was just...
I have a picture of that somewhere. I'll have to see if I can find it.
You were the one who keyed me into it.
He also got tattoos from Matt Matsuoka's films. He was so stoked on that whole little thing that we did. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, so that happened.
Very, very cool.
And I honestly look back on it fondly now, particularly because when the DVD came out, it came out in Spain first, right?
Yeah.
And it was dubbed.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of my voice sounding like now, it was like,
on the parent site for this podcast, on nobodiesknows.com, there's a blog page that links to the entire Spanish version of the film on YouTube. People can go watch what you're talking about right now for free.
So I don't want them to watch it, but I also want them...
It's amazing.
Okay, but I want them to watch it because I had a new love for the film because all those voiceovers were much more interesting than our own voices because it was different and it wasn't us saying stupid shit. No, fault to you. No.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get it. No, the movies, look, I was making, when Greg Bannock and I did the DVD commentary, which is kind of like the first podcast thing. I mean, it was me with Mike with Greg.
True.
It made sense that when I did my first podcast, Greg would be the first one because we'd sat down and done that kind of thing before.
Right.
We had so much fun and I made a lot of fun of it because you should.
Yeah.
There are parts of EDGE of QUARREL where I go, yep, just what I wanted. There's only a couple.
Yeah.
The rest of it's pretty just, we did what we could do. What are you going
to do?
But thank you, because you're a big part of that. And you're, like I said, of everybody, you're the guy who's got to be you've got to bear the brunt because you've got the cover.
That's a good point. Which we'll shoot again today, which will be interesting.
We are going to shoot a special cover for a limited edition thing to help Aaron out with this injury that he has, that he's suffering with.
And I thank you.
And there's going to be information about that on the site. I don't think it's going to last very long. We're making 43 copies of this limited edition DVD. It'll be in the store. You'll be able to check it out.
Awesome.
If this thing's been out for a few weeks, I'm sure they're gone.
Awesome.
So, okay, so let's get past, we're past EDGE of QUARREL.
Yep.
And there's been so much that's gone on in that time. You have been married. You moved to, like you mentioned earlier, you moved to LA to work for Southern Lord.
As I did, and it was a fantastic job, great opportunity. But my wife and I just didn't like LA life. It was either you had to be really rich to enjoy it, or you're not. I mean, there was no middle class, and it was very difficult to live with roaches around you and prostitutes, as nice as they were, every morning greeting me outside my door. And I just didn't like LA. I love the job. Like I said, I love the bands. I love everybody got to work with.
Well, sure. And you're with Greg, and that connects back to the earliest of the Northwest Hardcore with Brotherhood. So it's an interesting way that you came in much later, but still kind of connected on the back end there.
Indeed. And he remembered me from being a guy that wasn't in any of the bands. He was in more interesting bands than I was, and then when I moved there, he basically wasn't even there. So he's been in LA for 20 years or something. But he remembers, and it was fun because he remembers every single band that I was in. I sent him a CD, every single one, with promo pics dialed in, a bio,
yeah,
just as you should if you want the right attention. And I was like, "What? You didn't even listen to those?" He's like, "I listened to every single one." I was like, "No, you didn't." He's like, "I'll show you." We went to the back room, and he found the Grievous CD,
Nice.
one of the most recent, not too old. He was like, "Here it is." I was like, "Fuck." He does save everything, and he does listen to everything. And then when I work there, he puts stuff on at work, and he listens to it. He gives it, I won't say how many seconds, but he'll listen to it, and he'll decide right away, do I want to keep going or not?
That's impressive, because sometimes you don't even want to put this stuff in.
Yeah.
You can look at the outside and go, if this was good, it wouldn't look like this.
No, he's solid that way. Yeah. But it was fantastic to work there. I mean, to say that I worked on the Sleep reissue and High and Fire records, and every week I was churning out a new design for an amazing band. And that was the good part. But looking back now, at the end of living there, I started to have my MS symptoms. I just didn't know what they were at the time.
Right.
So then we Rachel and I moved to Portland, and that's when all hell broke loose with my health. And we were here in Portland for only about a year. We moved back to Seattle to try and like grab our roots. Her family's there. I clearly have a lot of friends there, and we just couldn't find a way for me to get a handle on my disease, and she didn't know how to help me with it. She wanted to cure it. I knew there wasn't a cure, and we just couldn't make it through it. So now I'm back in Portland alone, and yeah, basically a lot has happened.
Yeah,
a lot has happened, and a lot of bands since then that I've been in.
Can you play?
So I can play guitar and bass, mostly just guitar for short periods of time. Not very well because my hands, most of the pain I have from MS is in my hands. And I can play for about 5 minutes and not well. I don't have the same strength, particularly for bass. It's almost like it's harder.
Yeah.
But I've lost any kind of articulation. I play much simpler now, and for short periods of time. So when I make records now, they take a month to make, and it's all me sitting down at the computer and recording when I can in bits and pieces.
But you have something coming out.
So I have a couple things coming out. The first one that did come out was the Lumbar record.
Right.
I took drums from the I'm the Thorn record that I played drums on. I'm the Thorn was just Pettibone and I at first. The whole record, in fact, recorded was just him and I, and then we formed a band later. I took those drums, I cut them up into pieces, rearranged them, not even knowing what riffs would go on top of them.
Do you remember I Am in the I Am the Thorn video?
I remember.
You made me come down and wear a suit.
Yeah, you should have a link to that.
I already have the link.
Because that was a fun video to make.
I look like an idiot, but that's all right.
We all kind of did. It was, but that was like a very serious video for us, you know?
Oh yeah, it's dark.
Like, it is dark, and there's some really fucked up shit that's like implied. It was a good time, man. That band, I felt really good about that band, but it just, like a lot of bands, they just don't work out. But
I remember I was supposed to be suit and tie guy. I think that's what you told me. You said, come down and be suit and tie guy. So I just put together the closest approximation to it that I could.
You were in the script. We couldn't think of any other guy who looked a little bit more like a dad than the rest of us.
Well, and this was I've got short hair and I'm clean shaven. So
Yeah. That's when you were, what were you doing then?
Oh, I could have been.
Were you driving?
I might have already been dealing cards.
You were hustling either way.
Something.
Yeah, but you were the guy. You were the guy for that, and it worked out perfectly.
Thank you.
As well as Ian was the guy, the creepy blue guy.
Yes,
he worked out perfect too. Love that guy. Still love that guy.
Well, people will be able to check out this video on your blog page.
Yes,
people
they will.
Got to go to nobodiesknows.com and look at. And for any of the episodes that you listen to, there's good stuff on the blog pages
and links. That's good. So I'm the Thorn drums. The Lumbar record. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I gave it to Mike Scheit from Yob and to Tad and said, would you guys like to sing on this? And they were like, fuck yeah. Mm. They sang on it. And I wrote the record as I was like really sick. I wrote 3 and recorded 3 records. One of them, a vocalist is finishing now.
So that's one you can't talk about?
That's one I can't talk about until it's done.
Oh, wow.
Another one was the Lumbar record, which came out on Southern Lord, which was awesome and explained like the whole MS, what was going on with me. And it was one of the last records I was able to record, well before the disease like pretty much ended that. And, though people weren't as stoked on it as we were, it was a really, really important record for me in my life because it was such a story. Like I wrote all the lyrics. Mike said, write all the lyrics. I'll sing.
I've heard good things about it.
Well, I think people who like odd records like that liked it. You know, it's kind of like Old Man Gloom in that some of the songs are only one riff in the song. And then there's some spacey stuff and some weird stuff in between songs. And so the people who dig that liked it. But I think what people didn't like about it is it wasn't Yob. And it wasn't really like intricate guitar playing because people didn't know that I wasn't able to play well.
Right. Because
of MS until they read the whole story. That's why I did like a lot of interviews, which is nice to get it out. And then people were like, okay. Like, I like what Mike did here. I like what Tad did here. I like the riffs. The other record I did, actually, I took drums from my friend Brock, who played in TikTok Man and Cascabel, great hardcore band in Seattle. But TikTok Man was a little more rock and a little bit more Tool at times. And I wasn't really into that band, but Brock gave me all the drums from that record and they were fantastic. His playing was so good, I really had to get creative with my parts. We sent it to Tim Singer. Turns out Tim Singer liked it. My mind was blown. We weren't like super good friends. We just knew each other and would say hi when we saw each other. And I spoke to him at RevFest and said, what are you doing for music stuff? And he was like, nothing. I was like, I'm going to send you some stuff.
What's it called?
So that is called Process Black. And you can find it on the
Is it 3 songs that you have up online?
It's 3 songs that are up online. And there's 8 more that he's going to finish. And
it's great.
Thank you. I think it's a cool record. And it is more structured, verse, chorus, interesting parts. And it crosses all kinds of genres. I mean, I think some people are, saying that it's only Dead Guy and Kiss Goodbye and No Escape.
Well, it feels
in vocals.
Hearing it felt to me the way I felt like when I heard Fixation on a Coworker, which is a record that I hold in such high regard. It doesn't mean it sounds like that record, but I got the same feeling. I was like, oh, there's a here we go feeling you get when you hear certain music. And when you sent me the links to that, I got that here we go feeling like immediately. So
cool.
I'm excited for the rest of that to get finished.
It's one of my favorite records I've ever done. Like, but it also, it's because Brock's drumming is incredible. It was so fun to cut and paste all his drums up and try and write over his shit was really cool. And to hear Tim, one of my favorite people, both an influence in his design since I was, back in the early 90s, and I saw No Escape in the early 90s, and I was like, fuck, this guy is like, he's on a different level. And I was always happy to hear his stuff. The fact that he liked the record blew me away. It's taken a year and a half for him to get his stuff done because he's a family man. Like, no pun.
Sure.
Family Man was Family Man was the band he was in, but he's also been totally redoing a house, which is incredible. Long story short, he's making time for it. It's going to come out and we have a label. We just can't talk about it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a cool project. And then since living in Portland the last, 8 months, I've done a couple other projects that have been much more difficult for me to complete, of course. And they're simple, but some heavy stuff. So some other projects will come out too.
So if I told you we have to shut this thing down, what stuff do you want people to know? What's your kind of like, if you got anything to plug, you got anything that you just feel like you want to get off your chest or say anything?
I do.
Take some time with it.
So, the last 2 years have been the worst 2 years of my life. The diagnosis with MS was miserable. My wife and I couldn't get through it. We still love each other dearly, but we just couldn't make it work. It was the diagnosis and all the pain tore us apart. And then riding bikes, which I love to do, and I crashed and I broke my back, is a bummer. But as we were talking before we started this thing, that sometimes bad things come in threes, and there's sort of people are get a little mystical about that. And if that's the case, I'm so excited for my bad luck to be over.
That's 3.
That's 3. So I've been saying lately that since I'm not paralyzed from the accident, and though I might need surgery at this point, I'm in a, wheelchair for a couple months, maybe 3, maybe more, depending on what happens. But, I have the worst luck, but I really do have the best friends. People have been so supportive. People have set up a GoFundMe account, which there may or may not be a link when this comes up. It may be over. People have brought food to me every day, helped me shower because I can't actually get into the shower myself. But I think that's important.
I mean, you can. I've watched you get up out of that chair just to get into the bathroom. You are not mobile. You're not going to work.
Right.
You're not. I mean, so I know some people have sent some money into the GoFundMe account, and it's going to be very helpful when that comes through. And I'm assuming that regardless of insurance, being airlifted.
I was just going to say, airlifted is between $2,000 and $200,000. It depends how far you go. It depends if the medics inside the helicopter help you get in or out or do anything outside of the helicopter. It, of course, depending on how many drugs you get while
Do you have a bill from it?
Not yet.
And will it go through insurance?
It will go through insurance. I work at a bike shop. I'm a manager, one of a couple managers at a bike shop, and my insurance is good. But because it was out of state, the insurance may not cover as much.
Yeah.
Not sure yet. So, as of like today, I think the last time I looked, there was $5,000 that people have already donated in 5 days.
It's huge.
It's fucking awesome. So I want to thank everybody that's involved with that. I want to thank my parents for helping out. I want to thank, Rachel, my ex-wife, because she's such a good person. And, she's still such a big part of, she still takes a big part of a space in my heart, I'd like to thank you because this was totally fucking fun. Like, I needed to have some fun while I'm in a wheelchair.
We've talked about this over the last few months, and you have kind of repeatedly said, I'm not fun.
Right.
There won't be fun.
Well,
and I think I told you, you don't know.
And also, I am in a different headspace now. Like, I'm a lot more positive than I was in the last 2 years. Like, I had some really, really rough parts. And
look, I could have showed up here and you could have been completely blah and unwilling to engage, but that's not the you I've ever known.
And that's true. Like, once I got going, I was like having a really good time, and I thought seeing you again would be miserable, but as it turns out, like, it's super fun. Yeah, you just wanted to clap, but you didn't because you didn't want to make a noise.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be loud, but that's what I like, sir.
Yeah, and it was nice to bring up all these memories. Clearly, there were some things I did not remember until today. Celeste on the front lawn with the wet grass. Like, thank you, Celeste, I guess. Things like that, remembering very strange things. My first show, DRI, it made me think of it, even though we didn't discuss it. Just now, I was like, that was my first
really
show.
Kind of important that you just said that, because DRI keeps coming up. So, I mean, by the time we did the Soda episode, he was like you said earlier, DRI, DRI is incredibly important to people.
What a crazy band. I saw them at the Atlantic Beach Club.
And that's your
Virginia
first
Beach.
Live show. We somehow skipped over it.
Yep, that was my first show. Yeah.
That was a punk show or hardcore show or with them crossover show.
Crossover, definitely.
But it was not like it's not like your parents took you to see Huey Lewis in the News when you're 10.
Well, that was the Beach Boys.
Sure.
Yep.
It was some version of
the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A show where you make the decision and there might be moshing.
But basically, I'm excited for the records that I'm working on to come out. Until the vocalists actually finish them and they get, sent to labels, I don't want to say too much about them. But
sure.
I have a bunch of exciting stuff coming out that took me a long time because of my physical pain to finish. So it's nice to see them come out. And so I hope people are a little stoked about that.
And you can you still churning out the artwork.
I'm still designing. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you've got
the last record I designed.
You're still riding bikes. You're still active in the things that you enjoy.
Yes.
You won't be riding bikes until this little back
I
kerfuffle.
I won't be. Or running either. Both things that I love to do. But and working. Like I love my job. I love selling bikes to people.
Right.
That makes me happy. And to not be there is a bum out. But
so none of this is over.
None of this is over. And I just keep telling myself I have good people around me and I'm not paralyzed.
Yeah.
So fuck it. I'm still straight edge.
Very important.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for this.
Thank you for
I really appreciate it. I hope everyone's been able to suffer through this this different room tone. Some of this, there's a lot more noise in this than normal, but I'm going to clean it up as much as I can, and you're going to get it the way it sounds, because this is a good one, and I want it to go up regardless.
Awesome.
Brother, man, I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
Well, there's episode 14 in the can, finished. I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to do this episode. I didn't want to interview Aaron yet. And actually, I didn't care if I interviewed Aaron yet. I just didn't want to have to do an episode that was necessary because my friend broke his back. So, obviously, I'll sit with Aaron anytime. Like, Aaron's awesome. But I did not like the circumstances that precipitated this and made it necessary for me to pack up my stuff and go down there instead of having him come up to me. So, you heard the whole story. You heard what's up. Unfortunately, you heard some interesting sound stuff throughout that episode. Let me just say, this episode, more than others, is going to sound like there's a lot of edits. And it's not that there's any more edits than any other episode. If you heard weird clicks or things that sounded strange just in between sentences even, with Aaron being on the medication, there's a lot of swallowing, a lot of pauses, a lot of things that needed to be cut out. And with that background noise being as strange as it was, and with a lot of variable sounds just coming in through the window into his apartment, you could hear those edits a lot better. Those edits are always there. I do take out a lot of pauses and a lot of things in these episodes. I think it just makes them sound a little bit better, a little more succinct. They're long enough as they are. So, moving on to corrections. There were a couple things I wanted to point out in this episode. They're not a big deal, but Aaron says he thinks Princess Di died on September 1st, 1997. It was actually August 31st. He was only off by one day, and he was just pulling that off the top of his head. So I certainly didn't remember. I had to look it up. So that's impressive. And you know what? She's in Europe, so I really don't even know how that timeline thing goes. Would we have thought it was? Would we have gotten the news on that? I'd have to figure out like the way the Earth rotates and the times and stuff, and I don't know. So I think he's basically right. But just because I'm a stickler when I can be, Princess Di died on August 31st, 1997, shortly before I met Aaron. Also, while we were talking, he talks about the Halloween show from 1997. He also says, and I think it's just the medication, I think it's just the conversation, he also said the Halloween show was September 1st. And that's getting mixed up with the Princess Di thing, because obviously the Halloween show was October 31st. It was a Halloween show. And I do remember that one was on Halloween. So, that's that. That's the only two corrections I can think of. There may have been some other stuff that was wrong. I looked around for some photos of HIMSA, some of the early promo photos. I found one. It's pretty small. I'm throwing it up on the page. I found some really funny photos of Aaron. Definitely some cool stuff. So I threw that up. Go take a look at it. It's on the blog page for this episode at nobodiesknows.com. In fact, every blog page for every episode has got all kinds of information and photos, and I'm continually adding stuff as I'm finding stuff, and I'm finding a lot of stuff. So even with the episode you've already listened to, go check back, see what's there. I have a Facebook page now for Nobody's Knows, so go like that. It is facebook.com/nosynobody, or just search, Nobody's Knows on Facebook. You'll find it. Give us a like. I put all the episodes up on there. I'll be putting more stuff from Nobody's Knows up on there. I've been linking some old video that I've been putting up on YouTube to the Facebook page, and that's the only place I'm sharing it currently. There's photos there that are not going on the blog pages that are specific to that site, so you can just see some stuff on the Facebook page just to make it its own special stop, just to give people a reason to go there and to give us that like. Also, we're on Twitter at NosyNobody, so follow us on there. We'll follow you back. If you have any questions, you can email us at nobodiesknowsdl@gmail.com. DL, Doug Lawless. He'll be answering your message if you get in touch. Check out our store. We put up a store, and we've got some stuff that relates to the episodes, to the people that we've had on. For the Aaron episode, I'm going to be putting up the Genuine LP and the Harkonnen 7-inch. Both things that Aaron was involved in that I put out on Excursion, and I have a few copies left in storage. I'll put them up in the store. If you're interested, they're going to be cheap. And get in touch if you have any questions or anything at all. Doug Lawless would be happy to get back in touch with you. All right, until next time, thanks.
This podcast is a product of the Nobody's Knows Podcast Network. Executive producers David R. Larson and K. Drake Streetman. Music for this episode provided by Polymorph from the record Artifacts, Demos, and Debris.